1 minute. You guys ready? You almost ready? Hey, buddy. Good to see you, Marty. Thanks for being here. You ready? You guys ready? You ready?
Whenever you are.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for August 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Please have roll call.
Commissioner Drosky,
Here.
Commissioner Hudak,
Here.
Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Here.
Mayor Gans.
Here. Thanks for the echo. I love that. If we could please stand for a moment of silence in our pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have approval of our budget workshop meeting minutes from June 13th and June 14th of 2023 and our special city commission meeting minutes, July 20th, 2023?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes, our cultural committee meeting minutes of May 15th, 2023, our code compliance meeting minutes of May 24th, 2023, African American Heritage Committee meeting minutes of June 8th, and our community appearance board meeting minutes of June 28th, all of 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, approval of our agenda tonight for August 1st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, second by Vice Mayor Parnes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? All right, Madam Clerk.
For those attending via Zoom online wishing to speak under public comment or on an item that's open for public input, please click raise hand at the bottom of under the reactions tab, and your audio will be unmuted when you're recognized by Mayor Gans. For those attending via Zoom by telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand, and your audio will be unmuted when you are recognized by Mayor Gans. Please make sure your audio is unmuted on your end by pressing *6. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are blessed tonight to have a lot of dignitaries here in the room. And first up, we'd like to bring up our state senator, Tina Polsky, as well as our state representative, Tricia Wood.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. It's such a pleasure to be here in Deerfield with my colleagues. Rep. Williams and I are very pleased to present a ceremonial check for the funding of the stormwater flooding project in the amount of $450,000 from the state of Florida. $435,000, excuse me.
Your request was $435,287. Sorry to disappoint you. We didn't get the $287.
I guess they like round numbers. We appreciate you all coming, whoever of you came to Tallahassee to push for your appropriation. It really, made the difference, and your lobby team and your representatives who fought for to make sure this appropriation made into the budget and then also sustained through the veto process. So we're very pleased to present this, and we know that it'll be put to good use to shore up the infrastructure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We could take a picture. Yeah. It's a really nice bag. Right. So big.
Thank you.
And just quickly, we'll be back in session pretty soon. Starts in January, committee weeks in the fall. So we look forward to working with you on any legislation and any projects that you may have. So reach out, you know where to find us.
Excellent.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much. This is for the Martin Luther King Jr. Stormwater Project, and we really want to thank them. It just shows that Tallahassee does work for us at times, and especially when they come by and combine it. And it's a great group effort. So we love working with you, and thanks so much for being great representatives for us. We were very fortunate. Commissioner Preston, do you have a comment?
I do. It's so important for our community that these kinds of projects are implemented. It also is important for our city because it ensures the growth that we are actually looking for. But it's never the effort of one person or one group of people. It is an effort of our administration, the commission, and most of all, and most important, our residents that bring these things to our concern. So, I'm so happy for our this award, but for our city as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, we have another state representative, Peggy Gossett-Stephen, who is here tonight, to talk to us about something very important.
Hello, everyone. Peggy Gossett-Seidman. I'm from up the street in Boca Raton, but I come on the weekends very often to Deerfield, Hillsborough to get away from town. It's only 4 miles. So it was a joy to run this appropriation for you. I actually had an office here at Deer Creek when I was in pro tennis. And so I've been coming to your area for quite a long time. And I will tell you, no matter what you hear, the people in Tallahassee, myself included, the Senator, Rep. Williams, we work very hard and we put in long hours to try to help all the people of South Florida. And an amazing and an integral part is our elderly. I mean, when I saw this appropriation, I said, yes, it's the elderly, the kids. We have to take care of the people. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you all and keep coming up to see us when we're in session. We love to have friendly faces. Thank you.
I do want to thank our state representative for sponsoring this and sticking up for our seniors and getting this funding for us. It really means a lot. And is there anyone else, any other checks they want to give us to the city? No one? Okay, because I like this theme. Let's keep this going. Marty, you're batting cleanup here. I hope you've got a big one. Presentation by Marty Kiar, our Broward County property appraiser.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate it. And it's so good to see everybody here. I have been really looking forward to this. I made a little bit of a mistake, but I know you guys don't have a meeting next week, so it actually works out. As you know, I've lived in Broward County my entire life. Right now, I'm a resident of Plantation, but the one place I have lived no matter what, 1 week, every single year, my entire life is at the Emerald Seas Beach Resort in Deerfield Beach. And it's actually next week. And I usually love to come and speak to y'all when I live there. I thought it was this week. Apparently it's next week, but I'm very excited to come and be a resident next week because honestly, this is one of the greatest cities we have in our county. I think it's fantastic. And it's true. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, and first, before I just quickly talk about how our office can help our public, that where values are, and you'll see in Deerfield Beach, they are skyrocketing again, just like everywhere else in the county. And something that's really near and dear to my heart, that's cracking out on title fraud and putting people in jail who try to steal properties. Before I do that, I just want to thank yourself, Mr. Mayor, and this commission also for the great work that you all do. You know, the one thing I always tell everybody, I've never met somebody that lives in Deerfield Beach that dislikes living in Deerfield Beach. And I think one reason being is because your government provides great services, great parks, great things to do for the people to want to come here and to live here. And I think it's fantastic. And I also want to compliment your staff. You know, every single week, your staff provides to us all of the every single thing, everything that we need to put value on the tax roll, permits, everything you can think of. They're so easy to work with. Never have I ever called where they haven't called me back and worked with us, and we've been able to work out problems together. They're just a fantastic staff. And so I just wanted to thank you for that as well. With that said, just for the residents, this is a great time to come and talk because, as you know, there are a few main functions to our office. The first function is we determine the value of every piece of property in Broward County for tax purposes, whether it's residential, commercial, tangible personal property, or centrally assessed property, which are railroads. And the reason that's important is because when the residents of Deerfield Beach pay their property taxes, the amount of taxes they pay is a relationship between the value of the property that we set and the tax rate set by their local governments. So the higher the value of the property, the more taxes they pay. The lower the value of the property, the lower amount of taxes they pay. And the most important thing we want to do is just make sure we get it right. And as you know, Broward County is a huge place. More people live here than 13 states, the District of Columbia, and all U.S. territories except Puerto Rico. It is big. And we appraise more parcels than it exists in many states. And about 2 weeks from now, every resident of Deerfield Beach is going to get a document from me in the mail. It's the TRIM notice, the Truth and Millage Notice. It's not a tax bill. It's basically a document so a resident can make sure they don't overly pay in their property taxes. And here's what it says. It shows the value of the property for tax purposes. It shows all the tax saving exemptions they're currently getting. It shows the dates and times that you all and all taxing authorities are going to be discussing the proposed their budgets and also the proposed tax rates. And it shows the proposed amount of property taxes they're going to be asked to pay this year. And I always tell everybody, when you get that document, please read it. It's so very important. And if you have any concerns about the value of your property, or you're not getting every exemption you're entitled to, call me, email me by September 19th. Let's go through it together. September 18th, let's go through it together. And if we can make an adjustment to the value of your property, we always will. And if you're not getting an exemption that you're entitled to, we'll apply it for you so your tax bill will be reduced. And let me just give the residents just one quick example. The way we determine the value of property is we look at January 1st. So when your November tax bill comes out is what was your property on January 1st of 2023. And the way we determine the value of existingly owned property is we look at all the property that sold the year before, we adjust those properties to fit your property, and that's how we get to the value. And so when residents get this in about 2 weeks, they're going to call me or they're going to email me. And they're going to say, Marty, I understand why you valued my property this way, because all these other properties sold the year before that were kind of similar to mine, but they're really not similar. My property is dilapidated. It has water damage. There's something that makes it less valuable than those other properties. And I always tell them, well, show me what you got. And they'll provide me their information. And if it's information we can use to bring down the value of the property, which could bring down their property taxes, we always will. So please, everybody, keep a lookout for this. Contact me by September 18th. I want to make sure your value is correct and you get all the exemptions that you're entitled to, so your tax bill only reflects what you're supposed to pay and that you don't pay too much. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is where property values are right now in the city of Deerfield Beach. And as I said before, they are skyrocketing just like everywhere else in our county. And they're skyrocketing because people are coming from all over the world. They're coming to Broward County and they're paying top dollar for properties. And what makes our values a little bit different than almost anywhere else in the country is that we really don't have a whole lot of land to build. So we're a built out place. The only places where you really see a lot of growth, of significant new growth, is, for example, would be in Fort Lauderdale and other areas where they're building up. But overall, we're pretty built out. And when you have a little inventory and you have a lot of people who want to come and make Paradise their home, they pay a lot of money for their properties. And that's really what's driving these values. And to give you an idea, if in 2022, if you sold all the commercial and residential property on the open market in Deerfield Beach, you would have got right about $13.08 billion. That's a big number. But fast forward just 1 year, that's increased about 16.55% to about $15.256 billion. That's a significant increase in market value because people are paying a lot of money for properties. The taxable value is a value that you're right now looking at that you're going to set your millage rate on, which is going to determine the amount of money that you need to operate to provide great services to the people of Deerfield Beach. And in 2022, the taxable value was right about $9.26 billion. And fast forward just 1 year, there's been an increase of about 12% in taxable value to about $10.41 billion. And to put that in perspective, if you keep your millage rate the same, which last year your operating millage rate was right about 6.0018, that would bring in an additional $6.4 million more this year than last year that you can use to provide great services to the people of this awesome community. And something that's very, very important to note is the vast majority of property owners here in Deerfield Beach are homesteaded property owners. The value they're taxed on can't go up more than 3%. So that really means that that additional revenue is really not being paid as much by them, but being paid for by new people moving into Deerfield Beach, paying top dollar for properties, and a significant amount of new construction that was placed on the tax roll. To give you an idea, this year you've had about $121 million of new construction. The two biggest projects, one was a $30.4 million construction of 2 warehouses, and the other one was a $27 million office building, and you had a number of multi-million-dollar single-family homes that were actually put on the tax roll as well. Right now you have 17,868 homestead exemptions here in Deerfield Beach. You have 1,989 low-income seniors who receive an exemption. You also have 220 long-term seniors who have been here for a long time that don't pay any property taxes to the county. You also have 2,127 widows who receive an exemption. And I'm so glad that Senator Polsky is still here because I do want to thank her for this and her colleagues. In 1969, the widow's exemption was adopted. And when the widow's exemption was adopted, it basically said that $500 of value would be taken off the tax roll. That's not a $500 savings, that's just value. So it saved people about $9 in their property taxes. It was not increased until they voted for it last year to take effect this year. Senator Polsky was instrumental in getting that through. And actually now every single widow here in Deerfield Beach, which is 2,127, will now see a $5,000 value savings. So their savings is going to go from $9 to about $100. And I think that's a great thing. So thank you so much. And also, Peggy, thank you as well for your support on that. That's really fantastic. We also have 140 totally permanently disabled American Hero veterans who pay no property taxes to Deerfield Beach. And actually you have 2 American Hero first responders that are totally permanently disabled that pay no property taxes as well. This is kind of amazing. To give you an idea where property is right now, the average sale of a single family home in Deerfield Beach right now is about $708,036. That's a significant number that's increased since last year as well. Condominiums. And to give you an idea too, even though the average sale price is $708,000, the average taxable value for a single family home is about $224,000. And here's what that means. It means that the vast majority of people are homesteaded. When you come to Deerfield Beach, you really don't want to leave because it's such an awesome place. And so the value you're taxed on can't go up more than 3%. And so their taxable value is very low, but their sales and market value is of course much, much higher because they're longtime residents. When it comes to condominiums, the average sale price is about $220,000 and the average taxable value is about $117,000. And the other thing, Mr. Mayor, that I wanted to talk about before I answered any questions is something that's very near and dear to my heart. As you know, South Florida is the title fraud capital of the world. It's the capital of the world because you have criminals, and that's what they are. They walk into the recording division for every single county. They file fake deeds on people's properties. They take those deeds and they extort people for money, or they mortgage, rent, or sell the property. They do it all the time. And as you know, about 2 years ago, we came up with a great program in our office called Owner Alert. It's really a notification program to let people know if a document changing title on their property has been filed so they can fight the fraud before the fraud occurs. Over the 2 years, we've had about 203,000 Broward County property owners sign up. In Deerfield Beach, to give you an idea, 36% of all homesteaded property owners have signed up, which is, I think, is a pretty great number. I'd love to get the rest of them, but I have to tell you, I want to thank you for that number, though, because 36% of all of your homesteaded property owners is a big number. And the only reason we've been able to get that number so high here in Deerfield Beach is because you all have been such supporters of this program and have really helped us. So thank you for that. And about 2 years ago, after we implemented this program, I started getting calls from residents saying, Marty, I got an alert from your office that somebody changed title on my property, but I didn't do it. And we got more and more and more. And I realized how big of a problem it was. And so I wanted to do something a little bit different that other property appraisers, no other property appraiser has done. And I wanted to work with law enforcement, build criminal cases, and put people in jail who steal people's properties. And so I called the Florida Department of Revenue. I said, this is what I want to do. And they basically said on the phone to me, well, Marty, you're a property appraiser. You determine values of property and give exemptions. You're not law enforcement. So we got some heartburn about this, but we'll tell you what, we'll make you the guinea pig. And I go, okay, great. And they made us the guinea pig. So the first thing I did was I went to see my friend, Sheriff Tony, who he's a great friend doing a great job. And I explained to him the situation. And Sheriff Tony basically said to me, Marty, not only will we enter into an interlocal agreement to work together to build these cases, but I'm going to assign 2 BSO deputies to work with you and your office so that we can actually do the job a law enforcement agency needs to do to be able to try to arrest these people, prosecute these people, and build evidence for the state attorney. Then I went to the state attorney's office and I spoke to Harold Pryor, who's also a great friend doing a great job. I explained to him the situation. He goes, Marty, not only will we enter into an interlocal agreement, but I'm actually going to assign an assistant state attorney to work with your office to prosecute the people that you all are investigating for stealing other people's properties. And so our CAP team, which we call the Crimes Against Property team, emerged. And right now it consists of our director, who at one point was second in command of the Broward Sheriff's Office. We have 2 non-sworn employees of our office who are not law enforcement now, but have significant law enforcement and investigatory experience. We have 2 BSO deputies, thanks to Sheriff Tony. We have a Fort Lauderdale detective, and we also have a Town-and-Davie Reserve detective who actually is going to be coming onto our office full-time in October. And that's our CAP team, and we have support staff. And over the past 2 years, we've had about 17 arrests. We've had a number of convictions. We have a number of open warrants. We've been able to stop the fraudulent sale of millions of dollars of property, and we've actually been able to recover millions of dollars of property. I'm very proud of it. But let me give you just 3 examples just to show you how bad some of the people are that do this and what they'll do to prey upon the people of Broward County. And I like to talk about these stories, especially in public, because I really want everybody to sign up for our Owner Alert program. And I want people to really be vigilant about what these people will do to our communities. One story I like to talk about involved a married couple, 2 women. One of the women worked for one of our hospital districts. The other woman worked in the real estate industry. The wife that worked in the hospital district would find out when people would pass on. She would then take their personal confidential information, including their social security numbers, and give it to her wife in the real estate industry, who would find out if they had property in Broward County and if they had heirs here. And if they had property and no heirs, they'd file fake deeds on the properties. They'd sell the properties on Zillow, mortgage the properties, rent the properties. They profited in the amount of millions of dollars. But fortunately, they were both found guilty, and something I'm very happy about. Even though they're a married couple, they're still spending their time in different prisons, which I think is a great thing. The next example I wanted to quickly give you is one that I think also kind of shows how smart some of these people are. There was a man not from Broward County. He was actually from Miami-Dade County. And he found out there was a senior that owned a 5-acre parcel in Southwest Ranches, all free and clear. And he also somehow found out that this senior was incapacitated and was a sick man. And what he did, allegedly, he still has to be tried, but I think he's going to be convicted. What he allegedly did was he made a fake corporation in Tallahassee, basically putting the sick man as the officer and director of the corporation. He then went to the Broward County Public Records, filed a fake deed on the property saying the corporation owned the property, and then made a fake ID saying he was that man who was listed as the officer and director of this corporation. He then walked into a mortgage company in the city of Sunrise and said, you know what? I've fallen on some hard times, made some bad financial decisions, but I do have one thing, a 5-acre parcel free and clear in Southwest Ranches. Can I please have a $500,000 mortgage? And the mortgage company, not doing their due diligence, said, absolutely, we'll give it to you. And this is where they really should have realized that something fishy was happening. The closing for a 5-acre parcel in Southwest Ranches for a $500,000 mortgage took place at a Burger King in Hialeah. So you have the bad guy trying to get the money. You also have the mortgage company not doing their due diligence. And you have the smartest person in the room, the notary. And the notary's looking at this and she's thinking, this is a little bit bizarre. And so she asked the guy for his thumbprint, which he gave. She then called our office. We contacted the Town-and-Davie Police Department because they police Southwest Ranches, and the U.S. Secret Service because they handle a lot of the identity theft cases in America. And fortunately, the man was arrested. Unfortunately, he was given the full $500,000 mortgage. He spent about $80,000. We've recovered $420,000. One other example I just wanted to bring up, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, is something that happened recently. Recently, there was a number of people that from my understanding, allegedly met each other in jail. And I've learned that if you meet in some other people in jail and you start talking about criminal schemes, you can come up with some pretty amazing, smart criminal schemes. Unfortunately, these criminal schemes were designed to defraud a lot of our most vulnerable residents, which is disgraceful. And here's what they've allegedly done. And a number of them have been arrested. The two ringleaders, what they would do is use the court system to try to steal people's properties. So they would basically file a quiet title action in circuit court saying this senior, this person, this bank no longer wants this property. And then the return of service for the answer would go to the guy's buddy who was in a mobile home in Hillsborough County. And he would say, oh yeah, I represent that senior. I represent that person. I represent that bank. Yeah, they don't want the property anymore. Please put it in this other guy's name or his corporation's name. And unfortunately, the judges were. And they stole, so far, we found, I believe, almost 20 properties that we found so far. We actually find more and more every single day. They picked on some of our most vulnerable residents by stealing their properties. Fortunately, about 3 people have been arrested so far. There are a number of other people that are going to be arrested. And it's something I'm very, very proud about. And something I wanted to also kind of bring up. And the reason I like to tell this story, because something happened afterwards that I didn't see coming, but I didn't realize until one of these arrests occurred. So in one of the properties that they stole, the man moved in a whole bunch of his buddies, and many of them were, convicted felons. They had done some very, very bad things, and they moved in. And allegedly, one of the people in the house walked out about 2 or 3 in the morning and walked up to a neighbor's home and tried every single door to try to get into the neighbor's home. And I guess found one where he got in. And he walks in and he's standing over the bed, allegedly, of the husband and the wife. The wife wakes up yelling and screaming, scared. There's somebody in our room. And fortunately, that, along with their dog, scared him out. He was arrested, given an ankle monitor, and he went right back to the home. Recently, we were able to clear out that home, but it really shows one thing. When somebody steals a property, not only is the person that owns the property the victim, but the community can be the victim as well. And something else that a lot of people don't understand, even the people that are squatting in the home are people that we need to protect that can be victims. And I'll explain why. When they live in these homes and they're in these homes that they've stolen, usually there's no electricity, there's no air conditioning. They live in very difficult conditions. And in that property, for example, when we had to clear it out, there was even a child that was there. And so there's a lot that goes on with regard to each one of these homes that are stolen. And I just wanted to bring those up for a few reasons. One, I really hope that every single resident of Deerfield Beach that hasn't signed up for Owner Alert, they please sign up. There's free service. It's a great service designed to protect your most important asset, your property. And the other thing I like to talk about this, I like to scream about it from the rooftops, because I want every single criminal out there to know that if they're thinking about stealing a property in Broward County, we're not going to stand for it. And we're going to work very hard to put them in jail for a long time. So don't do it. With that said, I can go on and on forever. But thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as usual, and I probably shouldn't do this, 5 cups of coffee, 2 Red Bulls, and a Diet Coke. So I'm a little wired, but I'm just thrilled to be here. And I just very much appreciate you all allowing me to come to my second home in Broward. Got it done. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? Well, thank you.
Well, one thing I would like to say is that really thank you for the information that you're bringing forward, because in Deerfield Beach, there is a large percentile of elderly people, and I get the calls of those kinds of things. And it's nice to know that something is in place. No matter how many thank yous that you get, because it's something you didn't have to do, it is so greatly appreciated here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. This is something that is going to be a benefit to our city. And as I said, there's a large percentile of elderly here in Deerfield Beach. So we can let them know that they're being protected. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Ben. And always call me Marty, definitely. And thank you for your great service to the people of Deerfield Beach and your service as a firefighter before and just everything that you've done. And you know what? You said something very, very important. Even though one of the stories I spoke about was a 5-acre parcel in Deerfield Beach, the majority of people that these people pick on, they're seniors, they're low-income people, they're people that really don't have anything except their properties. The people that do this, the one common denominator is this, is they are very smart. And what they do is they try to pick on whoever they think they can best get away with it, and they know how to do it. And so thank you so much. That was so nice of you to say that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Bernie. Oh, you all have a wonderful day. Thanks, everybody.
We have another superhero who's here in the room tonight. Julie, can you stand up for a moment and come to the podium? Come right up if you don't mind. We're going to embarrass you a little bit if that's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Julie Denard, and she is a certified nursing assistant at the Northeast Focal Point, or the Braithwaite Center for Active Aging. And she has been there for the last 22 years. Ms. Denard has been a dedicated and caring certified nursing assistant at the Northeast Focal Point of Braithwaite Center for Active Aging for 22 years. She's a hardworking employee who's always kept her clients, residents, and her team's best interests at heart. She has cared for each and every client with compassion and dignity who come through those doors. Julie's favorite days of the week consist of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, when she leads with so much joy the enhanced fitness classes at the center. Julie would lead a dynamic cardiovascular exercise, strength, balance, and flexibility class for 1 hour. The goal as a client was to survive Julie's rigorous class. The city of Deerfield Beach Northeast Focal Point, as it was formerly called, is committed to quality health care and would like to thank Julie for her hard work and dedication. And our best wishes to you, Julie, on your retirement. Thank you so much for your dedication.
Thank you so very much. No, no problem. Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I just want to say thank you to the city of Deerfield Beach for giving me the opportunity to work for 22 years. I really, really, really enjoy my time at the Center for Active Aging. I really didn't want to retire, but my health made that decision for me. I love this city, and my children are here. And some of my clients are here, Diane, my husband, they're here. And I'm not giving up. If they want to volunteer, I'll volunteer my time because I love what I do. And once again, I just want to say thank you and thank everybody, and may God bless.
Thank
Julie.
you. Thank you.
As many of you have seen, we received a check tonight to support our Alzheimer's daycare center there. And there's a lot of misconceptions that people have about what the Center for Active Aging is. And while we have parks and we have programming for our teens, we have daycare for our kids, we have activities for everyone in between, this is really an activity center for our seniors. Just because it says it's a Alzheimer's daycare center, people think that we're doing treatment for Alzheimer's. That's not what we do there. What that center is, and one of the reasons why we invested in it, put in a brand new center in there, it provides all sorts of systems and programming there for our senior community. It gives them something to help them keep attached to the community. It provides transportation, it becomes education, field trips. It gives them opportunities to do the things that we provide programming for all generations within our city. And that's why it's so important. And it's people like Julie who make it very special. So thank you so much again, Julie. I think we are at item number 5, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 5 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2023-2024 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan, providing for implementation and an effective date.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. City Commission, members of the public. This is second reading where a presentation was given on the item. So unless there's any questions, I don't have anything additional to add, but happy to answer any questions. I also have our Director of Community Services here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission regarding this item?
Not any question about the statement.
Sure, go ahead.
For those of you that may have looked online and looked at the backup, I know that the areas, and it was clearly there about the areas that were marked for from 0 to 100% and everything in between of those low income areas. It's hard to see the specific streets and how it's outlined. And so what I would say, because I got a couple calls on that, I would just advise you to just call the city manager's office. But that map is there. You just have to, if you look at it, you'll see that those areas are outlined. So it's not as though they just randomly pick areas of that sort of thing. It is predetermined to where that money's going to go.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Anyone online? I'm going to close it to the public, Commission.
Motion to second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Parnas, seconded by Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas.
Yes.
Mayor Cantz.
Yes.
We are now at the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. This is the time for public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you have a public comment on an item that is on tonight's agenda, the time to do that is after the title of that item is read into the record. The public comment period for that item is opened up by the mayor. As a reminder, no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted.
Anyone online? Is there anyone in the audience? Mr. Hurst? Okay. Ms. Grayson?
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Willie Rosetta Graham Bracy, and I'm up here again about the situation on First Terrace. And do I have to say what it is?
Sure.
About the fence that I've been asking you all to put back up. Because it looks like it be a problem there all the time.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Grayson. Go ahead and Clerk Reed. Okay. Mr. Hurst, you want to come down?
Dan Hurst, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. Commissioner Drosky, I really don't want to waste any of my time tonight talking about beach garbage cans, but your buddy, the mayor, dragged me back into it. The mayor said at the end of the July 18th meeting, and I quote, "When people put out only partial information, they're doing it intentionally, and I think that makes them liars, and I don't respect that." I'm not sure what the mayor means by partial information. Was it the picture of the 2 beach garbage cans I used in my Facebook post, which is what over 80% of the beach garbage cans look like? Was it only getting 16 people to respond on the Facebook page called Deerfield Beach Politics that the mayor happened to go on to research who was responding to my scientific survey? Why didn't the mayor have his award-winning marketing department led by Rebecca Medina go on any of the following sites to gauge the public's response to my beach garbage can poll? You could have gone on the Facebook page called Deerfield Beach and seen 133 responses. You could have gone on the Facebook page called The Cove, What's Happening Over the Bridge, and seen 180 responses. You could have gone onto the Facebook page called What's Going On in Deerfield Beach and seen 70 responses. Or finally, you could have gone on the Facebook page called Deerfield Beach, What's Happening on the Island, and seen 43 responses. If you add them all up, you get 426 responses, not counting those you found on the Deerfield Beach Politics Facebook page. And if you had your award-winning marketing department add up all the responses, you would have seen that 98% of the people did not want the garbage cans that I showed in my pictures replaced, just as I had truthfully reported. And speaking of telling the truth, the mayor said at a previous meeting that the taxpayers don't see the complaints that come into the mayor and the city manager from the taxpayers regarding the beach garbage cans. Well, according to PRR, Freedom of Information Act number 26620, filed by me, asking for a copy of all emails pertaining or mentioning the beach garbage cans From January 1st, 2022 to the present, here was the city's reply. A search has been made for beach garbage cans, beach trash cans, and beach cans. No such emails exist. Again, if the order cannot be cut back to the 25 or so beach garbage cans that the city really needs to replace the decrepit looking garbage cans, then at least let the taxpayers try to understand the decision-making process of David Santucci and how the taxpayers can have more input before the fact instead of after the fact. And finally, for the mayor calling me a liar, I will accept your apology if you offer me one publicly tonight. I really wanted to talk about the fiscal 2024 budget, which must be approved shortly. Rather than going over all the arguments I have raised previously, may I have another minute? Okay. Rather than going over all the arguments I have raised previously regarding why David Santucci should lower the operating millage rate by at least 5%, I want to bring up one new reason that may have been forgotten. Well, actually, it's 6.5 million new reasons. I'm referring to the FAU land sale, which when it closes in the next year or so, will net the city $6.5 million. A 5% reduction in operating millage will use up approximately half of this windfall to the city, with the remaining balance available to do whatever project the city deems worthy. I can't think of a worthier project than finally returning something to the Deerfield Beach taxpayers after many years of not lowering the millage rate. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that care to comment? Go ahead, ma'am. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Diaz. I have lived in District 2 off MLK for almost 10 years now. And I also was the environmental engineer for the new project on Southwest 10th. I have noticed that there's been hired his name is Roy, code compliance, to look around for any kind of people who are building things, but mostly on my street. It's a very tough street. BSO is there all the time with a lot of violence or shootings, homicides, and it's also dirty. And I work so hard to keep my house very clean and on the outside, and people use the front of my house, exactly the part that is, there's the sidewalk and then that little area and then the roadway. I don't know what the proper way, yes. And people use that in the community as a major dump. So bulk dumping, dirty diapers, syringes, dirty condoms. It's not reflective of my community, but I know that I just want to know what the city is going to be doing with having new code compliance officers coming into our district and making sure that it's cleaning up the place, hopefully citing these slumlords, if you will, that live nearby. And I think that would help with just crime and the beautification and the curb appeal of my home that I work really hard to keep. And I'd like to stay in Deerfield. I am a person that's been molded by the city in every way. And that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. What is your street address again, one more time?
Southwest 3rd.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Freitag?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. My talks tonight, it's a little interesting. Recently, the mayor of Miami-Dade suspended their budget director after he failed to provide the proper information for the gas tax, allowing that to lapse, costing the county over $17 million. The mayor ended up suspending this person, quoting, "Although there was no bad intent on the part of our county staff, it's important that there be accountability for the lapse in the collection." She suspended him for 10 days without pay. At least there was some after 17 million loss of revenue, some type of accountability. One of the things we don't have enough of in our city is accountability. 2-story homes being built 3 blocks from City Hall without permits. builders taking property away from the city and blaming the city for not giving them notice in writing to return it. There's so many different options, so many different things that we are doing as a city that needs to be addressed, needs to have accountability. We're giving away property in the Cove, yet we are paying $600,000 plus for 10 by 10 spots of land, of sand on the beach. Where are we making up that money? Where's the accountability for our city staff to understand that they can't make mistakes like this and walk away without having anything happen to them? Where is our accountability for our city to understand that they must listen to us when we are asking questions and we're being told we don't have all the information? 9 times out of 10, the reason we don't have all the information is because city staff does not want to provide us that information. They do not want us to know that they're failing in their jobs. They do not want us to know that they fell down on any particular project, in giving any wrong information. They don't want us to know that they are not doing what they're getting paid to do. And in that regard, they are not being accountable, and the citizens do not have faith in a city staff that does not hold themselves accountable. Please take time to really look at the objects that are the questions that the citizens are asking. Please understand that we don't always have the full answer because city staff is unwilling to give us that information. It's not that we're not trying.
You like another minute, Ms. Freitag?
Yes, please. It's not that we're not trying. It's that we just don't, we're just not being given the whole picture. Even when we ask our commissioners, the commissioners aren't even being given the whole picture. So it's even harder for them to come back to us with any kind of information if they were to come back to us. But this is something that we really need to look at. If you want to have any faith in your citizens and you want your citizens to have any faith and anybody up on the dais and anybody working for our city, we really need to find a better means for accountability. Thank you.
I have a question. Okay, in a moment. Anyone else from the public? That's it. Anyone else? Go ahead and close it to the public. Commissioner Preston, you had a question for Ms. Freitag?
Yes. You mentioned that just 2 blocks away from here, there is an apartment complex that's going up. Can you give me specifically where the address is? And second question is, how do you know they're building without permits?
This actually, it's a home, a 2-story home that's less than 200 feet from my house. It's at the corner of 5th Avenue and 2nd Street. It is actually in front of the magistrate right now. The magistrate actually approved their variance. And that's actually how the city found out that they didn't have a single permit.
Okay.
Okay. City Attorney?
Commissioner Hudak wants me to give an update on the particular case that was mentioned by Ms. Freitag. The case mentioned by Ms. Freitag was sent to code enforcement, and ultimately the individual, it was one single family home that we're talking about that was being renovated. They submitted for administrative approval of a 2.5-foot variance on one side of the home to go into the side setback. We have a process in the city that those types of variances for single family homes go to a special master. In that case, the special master did grant the variance. The city actually appealed. My office filed an appeal of that variance based on the circumstances in this case. And recently we were able to work out a settlement. I couldn't speak about it until recently because we were under confidentiality in negotiations, but ultimately that contractor and the owner who did the work without a permit, and they were eventually found out to do work without a permit, paid the city $15,000 and agreed to mitigation in terms of drainage around that one single family home that they reconstructed. They're putting gutters around the entirety of the property. They're putting downspouts from those gutters to maintain the drainage on their property. Additionally, they had to put up a 6-foot shadow box fence as well as a concrete barrier lip underneath that fence to make sure the drainage didn't overflow to the neighboring property. They also agreed to install two minimum 14-foot Geiger trees in front of that house. And then they also agreed, which is a little untraditional, to allow our building official into the property to do the inspections and, if necessary, open up walls, et cetera, as needed to ensure that the renovation work that was done without permits is in compliance with the Florida Building Code. So those were the primary terms of the settlement. That settlement's been entered into, and the city received the $15,000 that I mentioned to you before. So that's where it stands right now.
So that's the accountability that we had towards them.
That's correct, Mayor.
Thank you. I have no idea what some of the other comments were regarding that were. If staff could get with Ms. Diaz about what's happening on Southwest 3rd Street, we could please make sure that code enforcement, which is something I'll bring up at the end to talk about. Mr. Hers, I don't recall ever calling you a liar, but do people who participate in those types of tactics are liars, in my opinion. If that fits you in that category, then I guess you are, in my opinion. But I don't think you are. I didn't call you that. Be happy to apologize if I was incorrect, that I wasn't. You talk about a bunch of sites, and I believe I also asked you how many of those people that commented on there were actually Deerfield Beach residents, which you haven't answered. You also have some of those sites, but unless you're a member of that site, you can't see anything on there. So if that's your scientific result of your survey, it's flawed. And I pointed that out to you, and you might not like that. You don't get the opportunity. Us as elected officials have the opportunity to hear from residents in all different ways. Doesn't mean they send an email. How many people stop us in the street or at events or anywhere we go to complain about different things that happen in the city? If you're looking for quantitative, that you think an email is what's going to prove that, then you're mistaken, which was probably why you're sitting there rather than up here. Because I think you've misjudged exactly what the people want out there. If you're talking to people that don't live here, people who live far away, might come visit, or maybe have a part-time home here that have opinions on it, it's a difference of opinion is what it is. So no, I don't recall calling you a liar. And matter of fact, I know I didn't. So I don't know where that came from. Ms. Bracy, as far as that fence goes around your the park, it's pretty clear in it. Commission, I hope we're all in agreement on this. That park is different. The situation is unique than we have with other parks, and I think that fence needs to go back up in that area.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I think that's what we've all agreed. So that's something we can move forward on for you. So we will address that. I think you've proven the point. We would hope and optimistic that maybe we didn't need to have something like that up there, but it sounds like that it is something that is needed. So I think we were in agreement that we would put that back up.
Yep.
I've been waiting for the opposition because when we had the neighborhood meeting, there were people that clearly was on the other side. Ms. Bracy has come to the meetings telling her about safety issues, cleanliness, and some of the other issues that she has experienced. I've been waiting for the other side to come and say, no, don't put it back up, but not anybody has come and to give the opposite side, except at one meeting that took place at the park. And she has been relentless in bringing the information to us, giving us a detailed view of how she has to live, living directly across from it. So since they haven't shown up, I'm on her side, and I'm glad that can be taken care of.
Manager?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Preston. I just want to make sure that is the consensus of the commission, that we go ahead and move forward with that.
I'll second Commissioner Preston's motion.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Okay, you got some clarity on that? Okay. And just one point of clarification for me, as city manager, the decision on those garbage cans was made how long ago? The initial discussion and debate that the commission had?
I'll have to look that up for you, Mayor, but the item did come before the commission for approval as an agenda item, which would have included public comment and input.
And that was what, probably a year ago?
It was, I don't think it was that long ago, but I will get that answer for
9
you.
months ago. So after the fact is certainly May 16th. There you go. Okay. At what year? Making sure. Thank you. I won't call you a liar on that. I'll take your word for it. Thank you. Okay. Close to the public. We'll move forward to the next item.
Item number 6 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, reappointing Gail Battle as the Commissioner of the Deerfield Beach Housing Authority and providing for an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Close it to the public.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We are now at consent agreements and expenditure requests. Items 7 through 13 are currently on consent.
Is there, from a show of hands, are there any items that anyone from the public would care to pull or comment on? Just to hold up your hand if there is. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13. On which item?
I'm not gross, by the way, I'm a Deerfield Beach resident, but I was wondering about the pier, if that's on the item.
No, it's not, and we've already held it through the public, but I will answer your question here in a minute regarding that.
Or just like a general.
Sir, you can't do it from there. If you want to come up, I'm gonna reopen the public portion to speak. That's all right. You want to come up here and make a comment? You need to give your name and address for the record. We said for public comment, when the city attorney said that would have been your opportunity to do it, but we're gonna reopen it.
Sir, is this about the pier or the pier lease? The pier. Okay.
Sure, come on up. Just give your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Matthew Rosas. It's 31 William Gaskin Way. Might be like South William Gaskin Way.
Okay.
31 Southeast Terrace. So I've been fishing at the pier for many years, and like I've slowly grown into an adult and had to start paying for parking, doing all the less fun activities than fishing. And it's like every year it gets more and more mundane and like frustrating because they have like one section for fishing costs like $3 to pay for parking, which is a good deal, but it's only like such a small lot. If we could like make the zone for fishing parking like all of the Deerfield Beach lots would be better for the weekends, like because if I'm a father trying to take my kid fishing on like a $50K a year like budget or whatever some dads might have, it would be better to have fisherman parking than paying like $20 a day. And now that the parking meters are like card and phone only, like sometimes my card is too old to like use the chip, and I have a bad phone. My phone runs out of battery. So it's like a big headache to find parking. And then sometimes like I'll use my phone to pay for parking, and then I get to the pier and wait a minute, the pier's cash only now. And it's been cash only for like 3 months, 4 months. But I've seen they put a huge pipe on the beach pumping sand. That's got to be a few million. New lifeguard towers. I think they renovated the bathrooms, put grass on the beach, and the tee's still broken, and they're using a cash system right now, while everybody's paying for a card at every other place on the beach. I think we just need more attention on the pier to like be fun for kids and families, and have maybe a good system for parking and just easier access to fishing, more attention to the pier.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna close it to the public then. We can go back to our originally scheduled item.
So we were on the consent agreements and expenditure requests, items 7 through 13. We're on consent, Mayor, and I believe you were asking for the public if they had any polls. I think that's
Yes.
where we left off.
Any polls from the public? Show of hands. Anyone online? Okay. I'm gonna close, public, anything, commission, any polls? No? Okay. We can do this all as a group if you'd like.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas. For items 7 through 13. Okay, we have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Huda,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yeah.
Mayor Gans.
Yes.
Item number 14 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, awarding invitation to negotiate number 23-02-PC to blank for the lease of the City Pier Restaurant, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. We recently held a workshop regarding regarding an update on the status of the Pier Restaurant negotiations. That presentation took place and gave myself the opportunity to update not only you and the public, but to also get some feedback and get some questions that anyone may have had regarding the proposals, the process, and some of you did provide feedback. One of the questions that I can answer as a result of that workshop was related to LEED certification. And the answer to the question, or let me say what the question was, is would the renovations by either proposer affect our LEED certification? And the answer is yes, but maybe not negatively or positively, because when you go after LEED certification, they are looking at many different aspects of not only the facility, but the construction and the means and methods of that construction as well. And of course, its use and operation. It's looking at such factors as the sustainability of the site, water efficiency, category of energy and atmosphere, materials and resources used, indoor environmental quality, innovation of the project, and the regional priority credits, which is honestly a category that we did not do too well in because it's mainly used for more industrial manufacturing facilities. So I say that to say whatever renovations are done within the lease agreement, we are going to require that their construction means and methods are at or better what is in there today to ensure that it doesn't negatively impact our LEED certification. However, when you talk about some of the designs that we have between the two proposals, consider things like indoor environmental quality, which may be different from one proposal to the other based off of how they're presuming to how closed the facility will be, how open the facility will be, and things like that. But also that when we received our LEED certification, we received a gold certification, and I think we had 64 points, and gold category is between 60 and 79. At the time, the city was seeking silver certification, which would be between 50 to 59 points. So even if we went through the renovation and seeked recertification of LEED, which I believe the commission said that it really wasn't worth going through that the expensive LEED certification process again. It is very unlikely that we would lose our LEED certification. So hopefully that answers that question. There were also some questions that the commissioners had of each proposer, and we have provided those questions to each one of them, and we provided them those questions and asked that they provide a presentation to the commission not to exceed 10 minutes each to provide you an opportunity to hear both proposals. Again, you have a recommendation from staff. I'll make it very clear again, the award is entirely in the hands of the city commission. I'm happy to address any one of the proposals and answer any questions that you have, or if it's the will of the commission, you may move forward with presentations from each proposer.
Commissioner, how do you want to proceed?
I'd like to see the presentations.
Okay.
Are they each going to make a proposal to us? David?
I'm sorry. Well, we've received proposals, Commissioner. I mean, we've received best and final offers several times. And we, now that this is their opportunity to present their proposals in a way that they feel, in the way that they feel fit. We didn't put too many parameters around how they presented, other than that they addressed the specific questions that the commission wanted them to address and state their case.
Before we do that, I just want to clear up a couple things. The RFP had a criteria. Essentially, it was put out for us to let the market come to us, not necessarily for us to dictate what we wanted there. And I've seen some misinformation. I think there's some confusion or intentionally or unintentionally out there, but this was the criteria reading directly from the RFP. Safe, a clean, safe environment with food and beverage, ensuring that the public health is maintained at all times. Family friendly. Deerfield Beach has a reputation for its beautiful family friendly beach, and this restaurant will be an anchor in the beach area and is expected to reinforce this image and experience. While the restaurant may serve alcohol, the city does not want to see the restaurant operated as a bar. Convenient, a reasonably priced menu, efficiently available at times to facilitate the enjoyment of our beach and pier by both residents and visitors. Environmentally conscious, an operator that embraces the requirements of operating a LEED certified facility. Community oriented, an atmosphere that continues and enhances the pier entrance as a welcoming and beloved gathering spot for Deerfield Beach. Destination enhancing, an operation that further activates the Deerfield Beach area and attracts visitors to destinations. There's no comment in there about it being upscale. I saw someone post a comment online saying that the city manager insisted that it be upscale. No, obviously we don't want to dump there, but there's nothing in there about upscale. We put it out there to the market, let the market come to us. We've heard from people that have said, well, we want a really cheap menu. We only want ice cream and hot dogs and hamburgers, and that's all we want. Well, anybody who wanted to put that type of restaurant in there had that opportunity to do that. They didn't come forward. So we didn't put that on what it needed to be or how it needed to serve. I think we gave some general ideas that it needed to be family friendly and what we were looking to do. And it talked about convenience on there, but there was no strict rules. So we had the three operators that came forward, two making the final cut. And that's where we're here today. I think there seemed to be some people that think that the city was dictating what the menu would be, or we had the opportunity to do that, and we don't. And if we did, I don't think you would be getting the presentations you have here tonight at the dollar amount that we're talking about if it was stuck with hot dogs, hamburgers, or ice cream. If that was the only items on the menu, you certainly would have gotten a different presentation. Clearly, there isn't an operator out there who felt that that menu alone was something that they could operate at and provide that to the community. So it's not up to us to be able to dictate that. We left it to the market, and this is what we've gotten from the market. So I just want to clear that up. Am I inaccurate? Anything I said?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can we see presentations then?
Sure. And we really haven't dictated, who would go first, but my recommendation would just do it alphabetically
How about we flip a coin?
or flip a coin, however you choose.
Sure, if we did alphabetical, we'd have complaints about that too. So let's do heads and tails. Okay. Anybody have a coin? Anybody who operates our machines out there?
Rock, scissors, paper.
Yeah. I guess we're stopped. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.
I got a coin.
You have a coin. Flip it. All right.
Who's gonna call?
We'll call it. Heads. Tails.
Tails. And it's not two-sided. It is tails. So want to make sure that.
Before we start, just a little bit about the technology. How is that going to work? Because I know that we have a presentation, and just say next slide. Okay, perfect. That's what I need to know. All right, very good. All right. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission, City staff. My name is Chris Mutos. I am with LM Restaurants. I've had the pleasure of working with LM Restaurants. We're a family-owned business for 13 years as their real estate and risk manager. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this evening the brief presentation that has been requested of us. Anything in this brief presentation that we are not able to get to in the time constraints that we have are included in a written presentation package that was submitted to the clerk's office earlier today, and you should have a copy of that within your packets that should have been presented or provided to you this afternoon. I'm present today with Catherine Goldfaden. She is our director. She'll give you the proper title, but she is our director. I call her director of marketing with LM Restaurants, and Juan Linares, he is the architect of record for this project for us. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Linares, and he will proceed with that.
Good evening. As Chris said, my name is Juan Linares with RWB Linares Architecture. I'm an architect working with LM to present this very exciting and important project for the city of Deerfield Beach. I've had the pleasure to work with LM on several projects, including one in your city and others on oceanfront property. It was my job to inspire, transform this building to its best possible use while making a viable and sustainable business that will be able to service the local community for years. One is one of the most important assets the city has. Well, it's the beaches, we feel. It's not only one of the best in the state, but it's also one of the best in the country, we feel. Our concept is to bring this beach, the views, the breeze, the smells, the excitement into this location. We plan to create a fully open guest experience. Shorts and sneakers or flip-flops and bathing suits are all welcomed in our concept. I can have next. I'll orient you on our floor plan briefly. On the left, you'll see what is currently the existing seating area. We have kept the skeletal structure. We're opening up, removing the storefronts, removing the walls, and creating an open air environment. On this side, we have a service bar for takeout, pickup, grab and go. We also added some high tops and very casual, accessible seating in this area. Next to it, where it currently is the kitchen, we've added more seats, but also we've opened up views to the east. We've also opened up the building to the west, again, incorporating this open air concept. The remaining part of the building, we are renovating the kitchen to provide an efficient working kitchen and maintaining a lot of the infrastructure and ancillary spaces that you see remaining in the existing footprint of the building that we are not changing. In addition, we have outside seating, which is adjacent to the east side of the building, which is proposed to be covered. Along the bottom edge of this display, we have a grade area where we had previously shown seating that we were recommending. However, at the discretion of the city, we have removed that seating, seeing how it felt like it was inappropriate or not needed. So moving forward, we're not showing the seating in that area. Next slide. This is the second floor. Again, we're keeping the same building footprint, reusing the existing infrastructure as best we can. And on this existing patio deck, we're including a 20-seat bar, additional tables, seats, and chairs. But what's most interesting is that ownership has decided that the eastmost edge of this area is going to be earmarked and continue to be an observation area open to the public, not excluding any of the guests that want to come up and sit there. We're going to provide tables and chairs for them and umbrellas, but it'll always be available open to the public. Next slide. These images show our design concept. We're trying to open this facility, not only to activate your entrance to the pier. Our concept is to create it as permeable, as accessible, as approachable as possible, not only in the existing seating area that is the south end, but also immediately to the left, also creating some openings to increase that permeability and visibility from inside the building. we felt it important to show the activity and the excitement not only on the beach, but also have the activity and the excitement that's going on the street be able to access and view what's going on in this exciting location. Next slide. These slides show the outside seating area, which we've gone to the extent of defining it further using a nautical motif of ropes and posts to define the seating area away from the open public breezeway, which is going to remain open to the public. However, our concept is to cover this area completely, providing additional shade and fan area that will always be available and open to the public. Next slide. What you see here is the eastward view, and part is the existing patio as it's covered now, but we're extending and providing a lightweight aluminum insulated awning that will cover not only our seating area, but it'll extend across the entire breezeway. You had a resident last time bring up a very important point, is that it's very few locations that people can congregate under, getting outside from the sun and the weather. And we're keeping that. That'll still be available. It won't be cluttered with any tables and chairs, but we're also extending it another 50 feet beyond. And that's always going to be available to the public. This awning is very lightweight, insulated, which provides a very comfortable environment. And we've successfully been able to integrate this type of technology in other projects. And it doesn't impact any of the foundations and doesn't impact any of the heavy structural impacts that have been mentioned or suggested that it would. Next. This is now the north corner of the facility. I bring this up because I think there was a misunderstanding of our intent. Last time it was represented that we were creating a new service stair or changing the footprint of the building. That's inaccurate. And the stair that we're showing there actually exists. In keeping with our concept, what we're doing is peeling away two of the walls and repurposing that stair, making it open, making it engaged, so it can have a visual connection to the community that is in that area of the building all along the boardwalk. And I think that's an important feature to be able to activate not only the upstairs, but also the congregation area that's underneath. So in closing, like the manager said, we have teamed up with a lead expert with Next Earth Design, and that is fully our intent to maintain and provide the lead the certifications that the city would like to maintain. Also, another question was asked about turtle lighting. We have a lot of experience in building on the ocean, and the turtle sensitivity is something that we have to abide by. The Department of Environmental Protection and the Wildlife Commission dictates all requirements, and they're very strict requirements, and that is non-negotiable. We are absolutely committed to providing everything that is required by the state for keeping this turtle friendly. In summary, I feel that we provide the most accessible, family friendly, guest first experience with this project, and I hope you agree with us.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Goldfaden, Vice President of Brand Strategy at LM Restaurants, and I have been in the family company for over 20 years. The company is 45 years old. We have a deep history of designing, building, and operating family-centric, affordable, casual dining concepts, and that's exactly what you're looking for. Not only do we have that experience, we've worked in other communities to partner with cities to realize your goals for revitalization. We know what it takes to activate the corner, to bring the energy, and what is affordable to your city. We have flexible construction timelines that we are willing to bring to you. We understand that staying open during the season is very important to you. We're committed to making that happen. We also commit to our 6-month time frame of building after season is over. We will work to put our permits together concurrently with season so that we're ready to drop the hammer on the first day that we can. But we also, in our proposal, promised that we would have rent payments to begin on day one, which is November 1st, 2023. Our wealth of experience and qualifications that you have seen in our proposal I'm confident that LM Restaurants can bring the same experience and success that we have brought to Pompano Beach and the city of Raleigh to bring an open and approachable restaurant, to activate the entrance to your pier, and and thank you.
Thank you. That was 10 minutes?
It was, it went by very fast, didn't it?
It did.
I know.
I tried to speak fast.
Thank you all
Thank
for your
you. I do have a couple questions. Is that the format we should do? We want the presentation after each one and we get questions? Or we wait till?
Mayor, I think it's up to the commission, and I would just suggest that whatever you do for one, you do for the other. It's the process.
Does anyone have questions on this presentation? Yeah. Okay.
You spoke of the awnings that were lightweight and that they were insulated. And the concept seems solid. My concern is though, when you're right on the beach, hurricanes, when those awnings is in a resting storage position, how secure are they? Because with those real strong winds coming off the beach, it seems to me from the way it looks that they could become detached. And if that happens, then they become a hazard.
Sure.
So how could you ensure that that would not be the case?
I'm happy you asked that. The product and the technology that we've used has been successfully implemented in the Cove project that's in your city. Those awnings are structurally calculated and they meet the 170-mile-an-hour wind zone required by code. Just like any roofing or any columns or guardrails or any kind of cladding that's provided on a building, those same calculations and wind pressures are calculated into this awning and provided to the city building department with all the backup from the manufacturer. These are structural grade aluminum posts, which makes it lightweight. The insulated panel, because it's 2 layers with insulation in between, also makes it lightweight, but makes it very rigid and very structural at the same time. So what we feel is that that insulated panel provides a dramatic reduction in temperature, and then also offering a full coverage, not only for our seating, but also for the boardwalk that we're trying to expand and make more comfortable for your residents.
So my next question is, if you had to sell one thing, just one point of everything that you're doing in your presentation for the residents of Deerfield Beach, and I'm going to ask the other company to answer this as well. What's your best selling point? What's that one thing that you bring to the table for the residents of Deerfield Beach?
Architecturally, I'd love to answer that, but I think I'll let Kat, representative of the company's answer.
Yes, thank you. So this concept will be completely approachable and accessible. So we are looking to make this a come as you are type concept. So whether you're walking up from the beach and you want to grab some food to go back to the beach, or you want to sit in your bathing suit and your flip-flops, and it's going to be approachable and accessible. This isn't, I understand the word upscale has been used a lot in conversation. This is not that restaurant. This is built off of the sister restaurant of Lucky Fish in Pompano Beach, where it's no shirt, no shoes, no problem. We want it to be affordable. We want it to be accessible, and we want it to be open to all locals. Our Pompano Beach Lucky Fish has a 60% guest that are locals, and that's what we look to bring to you.
Thank you.
I would have said the same.
Architecturally.
Architecturally.
Of course. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. Make no mistake about it, whoever gets the lease, I will be wearing a shirt to that establishment. Thank you for that. My pleasure. The question that I have is what I asked at the workshop when we couldn't have the dialogue is, the committee has made a unanimous recommendation for the Deerfield Beach Cafe. And in the invitation to negotiate, there were 5 weighted criteria points. And based upon those, they're awarding it to someone else. Where did the committee get it wrong? And why should we change in your favor?
Briefly on that topic. So we successfully scored highest in 2 of the scoring sessions. So in the weighted criteria, would imagine that being scored once, I believe 1 point, and the second time 2 or 3, if not 4 points higher, I don't recall exactly, but we still scored higher. So that's a little bit of a discrepancy if the weighted criteria was being used that I do not, and that we do not understand, or maybe to be explained, or just to bring to your attention.
And I will add that, you know, what we bring to the table is that 45 years of experience of owning, operating, designing, developing, being hands-on operators in the building. I mean, we stand here with Lou Mashakas's blessing, and I promise you, Lou Mashakas will be in your building every single day, making sure that every attention to detail is taken care of, because the attention is in the details. And knowing what our guests want and what they're looking for and your locals, that's what sets us apart.
Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mayor. My question more is for the city manager or the city attorney. I know there was a question with regards to, provide the best option. And then it was come back and there was another option. And I see the design changed again. So where they've moved the patrons, further west so that you have the walkway, which was one of our concerns with the original presentation. And I'm just curious if that's okay, if that's what's in the rules, because it's another change. Or is that okay? That's what I'd like to know.
Can I comment on that?
No, hold on, let him answer.
I'll take the first crack at that, Commissioner, and then if Mr. Soroka has anything additional to add, I will. The original proposal that was submitted provided a layout that was included the lease area that was in the ITN, but it also included some additional space. And so at the end of the day, they have agreed to work within the lease space. It took it took some discussions back and forth in several meetings, and they provided us options either way. But ultimately, as they have said here tonight, that they're going to work within the lease space that we have outlined within the ITN.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just another change based on comments that we had. Thank you.
Is this a different presentation? A different layout than what we saw the last time when we all gathered in the public workshop?
The difference that have been presented is similar to what the manager has presented. Is it's the same layout. What we've done is we've always had that area highlighted as additional seating, since we were asked what is possibly the best use for that area. And we originally showed additional seating along the eastmost edge of the breezeway. Since the feedback was that the city probably would not support or would like to see additional seating along there, we simply, just didn't show that in the renderings and in the floor plan. So it's the same layout.
This is a completely different rendering than what you had. Is this a
No,
different
no,
rendering?
it's the same rendering. It's just we deleted
Except
the
you
seats.
decided to stay within the actual parameters of what the RFP was.
And again, the original layout had the seating that is immediately up against the building in the same volume and same amounts. What we did is just removed the furthest most edge where we had added, an extra row of seats. So it's the same layout. It's just the area that we had highlighted showed seats before, and now we're not showing.
Where's the second stairwell that you guys were talking about building in this rendering?
There is no second stairwell that we're building. That was presented, and I think that was presented in error. The stairwell that's there now exists. It's an existing stairwell. What we're doing is just peeling away 2 of the walls to reveal the stair. Now, in that effort, I'm sure there might be some reconstruction and repair that might have to happen, but the stair is there, and it's always been there. And I think that was just a mistake that was.
Added additional?
No.
So, Mayor, if I may clarify, that was not, that did not come to our attention during the discussions. However, as I look at their concept and then go back to the original layout, it is clear that there's a stairwell there, but it wasn't known to me or anybody else at the time that they were going to be removing the walls of the existing stairwell or adding an additional stairwell. We just saw a stairwell on the outside and assumed it was an additional stairwell, but I have no reason to believe that they are saying anything different here.
Excellent. I do have a question for you because you talked about attention to detail. So I'm a little confused at what we did this process. We did a best and final presentation and you guys presented at $200,000. 2 days later, I see an email exchange here that your attorney came back and then changed it to 260 once all was revealed. And then you come back later and you did a larger scope than what was presented and you changed the number to 320,000. Now today you come back and it's at 275,000, but you removed the section. It went from 320 down to 275 because you eliminated when you went outside of the scope. So I don't understand when we talk about attention to detail, why the ball keeps moving. If it's best and final and that's it, and your attorney's present and was the only person there and had the opportunity to ask questions and do anything, why would you continue to change the numbers? And how am I to believe that the numbers presented today aren't going to change before we sign this final document with you guys?
So it was myself that was present at that meeting.
You the attorney?
I'm the risk manager for the company. So that's
you-
Chris Mutos.
You're Chris Mutos.
I'm Chris Mutos.
You're
Yes.
Chris Mutos.
Right.
So you're not the attorney, you're the risk manager.
Right. Real estate and risk manager for the company.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that clear to you?
I thought Mr. Mutos was also an attorney. I thought you represented me at some point. You were. So that's my apology.
Yeah, no,
That was
just
not
always
me.
the risk. That's what my signature line always says.
Okay.
But when on that July 3rd meeting,
Your signature line says corporate affairs, real estate, and risk manager. It
yes,
does.
okay. So on the July 3rd meeting, when I attended, the notice that was sent to us said that the purpose of the meeting was, before it went to the public session, was to negotiate with the two top ranked proposers. It didn't say to discuss the proposals of them. So it was my full intent going in there that we were going to be sitting across from someone else to negotiate with. And that's not what happened. And whatever the perception may be, I was in that room and the minute the meeting opened, it was simply straight to the other proposer and the information that was provided and making them the actual award winner, or the recommendation was going to be for them. I did not feel that it was appropriate at that point to speak for a couple of different reasons. One, there was no other proposer there per the notice. I thought I was going to be talking one-on-one with somebody, or at least bantering back and forth, one of us leaving the room, whatever it may be, just a negotiation. I thought that was going to be in the best interest of the city, see what they can get. That's not what happened. It wasn't rescheduled. I was quite surprised that the other person wasn't there, to be honest with you. And I digested it, right? And when I left the meeting, a comment was made by someone that said, "Sorry, you had to come here just to hear that." So I dwelled on it for a little, and I thought, this isn't right. This is not the way this was supposed to be. This is not what the notice was about. The public notice, even though there wasn't anybody from the public that logged in or came to the meeting, was to hear what the outcome was of potentially that negotiation that day.
Because it was based on best and final offer. And you came in thinking you were going to negotiate.
Yes,
So best
Absolutely.
and final, you know what best and final offer
I do.
means? Okay.
I do.
But you were still going to go in there and negotiate. So
It said to
how does
negotiate
it
with.
change 4 times then? Why do I have 4 different sets of numbers from?
So I think where the confusion is we did initially come in at the 200 with the initial presentation that you saw in the initial ITM.
Mhm.
And then as we were learning more, we went through a negotiation meeting and we showed those numbers, and we went on whatever date it was, and we met with the committee and we changed around some of the numbers just to accommodate some of the discussion that was going on in the negotiations. And The 325 was always based on the use of that easternmost property on the ocean side of these
Which was
premises.
outside of what the RFP said.
That is correct. We wanted to provide what we believed could have been the best for the city of Deerfield Beach in that regard. So we maximized the use of the space, we maximized seat turns, we maximized revenue generation. We just took all of that into account. And that's how that number came. Well, then we discovered that the city really and truly did not want us to use that easternmost portion. And after that discussion, we took it to 275,000 with the loss of the generation of that revenue. So that is the transpiration of those events. You can wholeheartedly believe that the numbers that we are giving you are the numbers that are firm in this regard. So
But you've gone from 200 to 260, to 325 to 275, and I think the percentages look like they're different from the July 10th meeting to the August 1st. Am I incorrect on that, city manager? They're exactly the same.
these numbers were the same as at the workshop. So we proposed the 275. We have a 2% annual increase and we have a 6% percentage rent.
I think probably the concern is, I think the numbers that we looked at, the city manager and the city attorney and I looked at this is that the break point doesn't equal 5% in what you gave to us. It's wrong. I think it might have been, maybe it's a typo. I don't know.
Maybe it could be an Excel
But-
spreadsheet issue, but it's
But
a
when you
6%.
change it that many times after best and final, that gives me some concern, especially when you talk about attention to detail. So you've clarified how we got to that point, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Is there anything else I can answer in that regard?
I would imagine a lot of the statements you're making tonight, as far as the reason, some of the things that you brought up, several of the points, which you've changed the presentation and what you're looking to do based on the public comment that we had at the workshop. Would that be accurate? Grab and go was not something that was originally part of their price point, was not originally something you
Yes.
guys discussed.
So we call it counter service.
Mhm.
And so in our presentation, early in the executive summary, we do speak to our counter service.
Okay,
And because grab and go has become the vocabulary word, I was showing that is apples to apples, that our counter service is the grab and go section.
okay. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
Anything else?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Did you want to hear from Deerfield Beach Cafe LLC?
Yes, absolutely.
Good evening. Good evening, Commissioners. I am Danielle Rossi, the owner operator of Oceans 234. Proud to say this is our 20th year in Deerfield Beach. So I want to take the opportunity tonight to present a concept that my team has been developing and taking into consideration with our historical knowledge and direct observation of this property. I'm going to summarize 6 months of development and discovery in the next 10 minutes, so I will move pretty quick. To summarize, we have designed a concept that complements rather than competes with existing offerings in the market. This is a concept that caters to the beachside community's needs by having a well-rounded range of offerings. New slide. Thank you. First, allow me to introduce to you the Palm House. The Palm House is a modern beachside eatery that balances simplistic, friendly neighborhood charm with a relaxed feel and a sophisticated vibe. A locally inspired craft kitchen will offer many of the modern, healthy culinary favorites you'd expect to offer in any great coastal city. This is designed to be either your first stop of the day or your last destination of the evening, or it can be both. New slide. Warm and welcoming, the Palm House is a gathering place for all in Deerfield Beach. New slide. While this is one restaurant, there are 3 experiences for our residents and visitors. There's the grab and go component, which is more than just to-go food. There's the downstairs dining room, and there's the observation deck lounge. Our pricing strategy is very simple. It's an accessible price point that balances value and quality. You can scroll just through the next 5 to give them an idea. The next 5 slides are our menus and inspirational photos so you can see our culinary style. These are items that can be executed out of the current kitchen layout. The grab and go component promises to elevate the boardwalk experience, serving as an added amenity. You can go to the next slide. So the upstairs lounge, the observation deck, strikes the perfect balance between sophistication and fun. It will be the first rooftop experience in Deerfield Beach and is set to become an unparalleled gem in Broward County. If we do this right, it promises to raise the bar in our region. This menu upstairs will have an addition of a pizza oven. This equipment is the most efficient way to create a diverse menu. This building has many operational challenges that exceed just from delivering food up a set of stairs with this 2-story design. This upstairs menu provides a long-term solution for this. New slide. Next one. Okay. These next 8 slides, and you can just scroll through, thank you. The next 8 slides lay out the Palm House brand. We want to ensure we did not just create a business plan for you, but a lifestyle brand that could come to life in all the touch points of this property, from the menu to our team's uniforms to merchandise. These thoughtful components will intertwine to create a memorable experience and a destination establishment for years to come. Our space, this will be a comfortable feel of a beachside bungalow with warm color palettes, inviting furniture, and diversity in seating options. A little bit of a residential charm. Next slide. This downstairs rendering that you have already seen, I want to note that the bar you see in this rendering is a conceptual depiction of a coffee bar, an area to pick up to go, not a rowdy drinking bar. Next slide. The inside dining room rendering is a great relaxed feel. It does something, I believe the design does something that is difficult in restaurants. It transitions from day to night. Opening up the doors allows for contiguous space from inside to out. Next slide. These are our brand objectives. They are considered in every component of this brand. We considered, was it safe? Is it family friendly? How can we make it convenient? It must be environmentally conscious as we are stewards of the beauty that is going to surround us. How do we make it community oriented? Because community is the cornerstone of everything we do. And most importantly, is it destination enhancing? The Palm House is not just a restaurant. It's a destination that will entice our residents and our visitors to explore everything the area has to offer. New slide. The turtle season operational consideration is something that we are used to and are aware of. The lighting that the exterior lighting will be designed and positioned so it's not directly visible from the beach. We would like to work with the city and communities to be the place where we start beach cleanups every year. We believe signage and education displaying around our establishment will be important. We want to educate our staff and guests about turtle season and encourage responsible behavior. Yes, thank you. Our target audience is our local residents. We are a coastal city. There's a significant number of residents who want to enjoy time spending near the ocean. Tourists and vacationers, Deerfield Beach is a popular destination, and we want to ensure they want to come back to visit us. Outdoor enthusiasts, individuals who enjoy outdoor activities, swimming, beach sports, and walking around the beautiful boardwalk. Community engagement. Something I want to mention is that while we're getting ready to open the Palm House, while we're under construction, we want to engage with the community by doing community menu tastings, whether it's through pop-ups on the outside boardwalk or utilizing Oceans 234. So the community feels like they can offer some feedback about the offerings we want to put forward. During construction, if we don't want this property to go dark, if it's during Holiday Way or Founder's Day, we'd like to do pop-ups during this time. So in conclusion, as the city continues to develop and expand, it is essential to seek out concepts that cater to the community's needs by maintaining a well-rounded range of offerings. By engaging in a bidding war based on lease price solely, the city risks losing sight of the ultimate goal of creating amenities and attractions that can truly enhance the experience for both residents and visitors. When you look at the value of this property to the city over the next 20 years, The value of the right concept far exceeds the highest bidder of rent. Diversifying the restaurant offerings will help nurture local revenue and prevent it from cannibalizing existing businesses. This addition will enhance the overall experience of the city, but also keep our residents and visitors' dollars in Deerfield Beach so they don't have to go to surrounding communities. I want to clarify that what I'm proposing is not anything that resembles Oceans 234 in concept or pricing. Also, this property is an amazing asset of the city, but it does come with many challenges as an operator. There's difficult parking sometimes, it has little storage, it has a challenging design to work within. There's stringent guidelines with LEED certification that we're willing to take on, but also it is very weather dependent the way it is situated. It rains about 130 days in Deerfield Beach each year. That's 33% of our business every year that is affected. We have carefully conducted extensive research and evaluation incorporating our historical knowledge to develop a proposal that encompasses the challenges and targets this beach-going community. We have designed a concept that complements rather than competes with the existing offerings in the market. The Palm House menu, service style, and brand design have been thoughtfully considered to align with the city's objectives. These factors are reflected in the proposed financials. The financial projections outline a realistic investment to enhance this asset while having an inline market rent and substantial capital contribution. My proposed rental rate calculation considers the pricing of our menu items and the seating capacity outlined in the ITN. This enables us to cater to the beach community by creating an approachable environment. As someone who has dedicated the past 2 decades to serving the Deerfield Beach community, I am proud to say that my commitment extends past the transactional operator and shows my commitment to a collaborative effort with this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Preston?
As I asked the first presentation, I will ask you, what is your one most selling point to the residents? If you had to say this is the one thing that we bring to the residents of Deerfield Beach, what would that be?
I think that we have just such an extensive knowledge of the area, and we have such an understanding of what's needed down there on the beach. You know, I know at Oceans 234 over the past 20 years, we've elevated our levels of hospitality and connecting with the community, and we expect to continue to do that in this new store as well.
Yeah, the only thing is that a lot of the people in the city don't live on the beach. It's those people that will say, let's go to the beach because of the scenery and grab breakfast. So what's your message to them, to the whole city of Deerfield Beach, from District 1 all the way over to 4? What's your message? What do you say to bring them out?
Right. So this new concept is just that. And I think in one of the slides I mentioned, it's a gathering place for all of our residents. It's a place that everyone can come to, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or the upstairs observation deck.
And how long would the renovation period be before opening?
Right now we're slated for 5 months,
Okay. All right.
and we're confident with that.
Thank you. Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. So at the workshop, I asked the other side of the question. Now I'm going to ask you your question, which was, how fair do you think that this bidding process was? Because the best and final apparently wasn't the best and final. I haven't read the letter from your attorney dated July 17, but I want to hear it from you, what you think about how this process, how it unfolded.
Right. I have to say, it was very clear to me every step of the way what the criteria was, what the deadlines were. When we went to negotiations, it was very clear that when we stepped in that room, it would be our best and final offer. I believe it was the July 3rd meeting where they had deliberations. I knew it was a deliberation. I knew that it wasn't anything that we were going to present at. I was out of town, and knew that we weren't presenting at that meeting. So I was very aware that we were done, that we had given best and final offers. So I was very surprised to hear that offers were coming in after that changes were being made. But I was very clear on the criteria. I was very clear on the process.
The Palm House Kids Club, was that part of your original presentation?
It was.
Was the community engagement pop-up, is that part of the original presentation or is that added after?
That was added during, I think, our negotiations committee. I spoke of that, yes.
Okay. And if your dollar numbers changed since the original after hearing what has been countered back and forth?
No, my best in offer has been my best in offer since that's.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Heather, can you bring up the two images that I sent you? The first one first. I want to give you guys an idea. Like I said, I've been here a little while. So if you look at this rendering right here, when we made this decision, and I was part of the group that made the decision for the current place that's there, this was originally what I voted for. This is what it was supposed to be. This is the rendering that was sent to us. That's not what we have there now, is it? You see the grab and go, you see the little things that people go out there and go. We were trying to merge what we had there previously, which was a old school 50s, 60s, 70s, grab hot dogs, hamburgers and go type situation. This is what I thought I was getting when I voted for what is currently there. That's not what we've got. You show the other one? This was the other part that they showed us and what I thought I was getting when I voted for this. So I'm leery about things changing during negotiation, after negotiation, seeing what's there. What's ironic is if you look at that there and you look at the other rendering, both of these are very similar to what was originally presented and what we kind of hoped. But I mean, the original one was we were hoping to give an offering to the beachgoers and to our residents down there of something where if they wanted to grab a quick sandwich, they can go up there and grab it. And that's what I was told I was going to be getting. And I didn't get that. So I am extremely leery of things changing during the process. So that is something that does concern me. But I will say both of your renderings are not quite right on, but very, very similar, which makes me happy. But there are some aspects of it that are missing. But again, because of this experience, this is what makes me nervous about going through this once again, because I've been here and I've seen things change. And when people say, well, gosh, we you know, why can't we go back to where we were at? Well, where we were at was not where we were supposed to be at from the beginning. So that puts me in a weird position. It gives me some bad flashbacks in some ways as I go through this process. But it is refreshing to see both renderings somewhat close to what I thought I was getting many years ago. Commissioner Hudak?
Yeah, I just want to say, earlier today, we had a resident speak about accountability and about how things change with previous commissions and promises are given and promises are taken. And that's also one of my concerns. You say what you're going to do and you do what you're going to say. And one of the, teams has conveniently changed as the wind has blown. And that just gives me pause for concern. Because, when we're going into an agreement, I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, a year from now, when I look at it, yeah, that's exactly what I kind of expected. And I'm kind of concerned with one of the teams that they're going to change to, push the envelope and continually push the envelope. And that was one of the challenges we had with the previous provider as well. So those are pauses for concern in my mind anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would have any questions or comments? Come on up, sir. Just need your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul Vernon, address 1549 Southeast 4th Court.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's your last name again?
Vernon.
Vernon, thank you.
Yeah. Southeast Fourth Court here in Deerfield. I don't know either of these proprietors, nor have I been set foot in either of their businesses. So I'm non-sequitur here. But as a design engineer, I have a comment that addresses your concern and yours. And that's simply have them show you their proposals in the past and their results at present. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Hurst or ma'am, go right ahead.
Hello, Maria Larico, 1551 Southeast 12th. So I think if we take L&M and look at what they currently have, and if I'm incorrect, you can correct me, but there's the proposal next to their restaurant that's near the bridge to do a parking garage. Yes or no?
I don't know if that's come forward yet, but I think there's been some talks about it. Yeah.
So if you think about 20 years and the traffic we have now, you're adding so much of a congestion, which we haven't solved. So even though you want to take 4 and district, 2 and 3 and our district and get them there for breakfast and then home and then go back, and what, like, are you kidding me? You can't even, I mean, it's lovely. I'm not disparaging the presentation or the idea. It just doesn't work. We have a problem. Now, if you were to look at L&M and say, hey, would you perhaps make it fun? Do a shuttle to get the beachgoers back and forth to the beach. You're adding a resort type feel from one property that they already have, and they can run specials, and it could be really something fun and offset the terrible problem that we know in 20 years we can't adjust for right now. So I'd like for us to really keep that in mind. And you spoke of change, and there is an element of flexibility that when you're doing something like this, that you need to play with. These are people that have a restaurant. They have restaurants. They even have a risk management team, for goodness sakes. They know what they're doing. So that you don't like the fact that things change. It's called working collaboratively. And that is an element that must take place. It's a give and take. That's a relationship. When you're going to build a 20-year relationship of someone that's going to serve your city and have a revenue stream, yes, you do want to consider who's going to give you the most amount of revenue. And yes, you want to know who hears you and works to make those changes. That's just a piece of the pie and how it unfolds. So again, I think you were very hard in L&M. I'm just sitting there listening, and I like both presentations. So you're going to have a hard job. Good luck.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Paula Cook. I'm at 62 Centennial Court in Deerfield Beach. And I just had a question. You mentioned the numbers for L&M. The numbers for Palm House, are they the same or?
No, they're different. We can give you those.
Okay. I remember reading about this quite a long time ago. And one group was promising a lot. And then the other group, I don't know if it's even if these are the same, but was promising very little. But when you're looking at proposals, the top number isn't always necessarily the right number, and I was sort of interested in if Palm House was going to let people in their bathing suits. It looked a little ritzier than the other design. That would be nice. I'm all in favor of having a beach bar is fun. You know, I'm not talking about drunken sailors, just, you know, a beach bar, you know. And I think it would be a nice addition to Deerfield Beach. Thank you.
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. I found it very interesting that throughout the July 20th workshop, it was continuously repeated by both David Santucci and some of the commissioners that both finalists, LMR and Oceans, were so close in the restaurant committee scoring system, and both are 1A and 1B, and both are great restaurateurs, and both would make the city proud. I, however, feel there are significant differences between the two finalists, and I would like to mention some of them. First is the obvious financial difference. LMR is willing to spend 1.6 million more in capital improvements. David Santucci said at the workshop that Ocean's capital improvement will result in less renovation and less construction impact. Does Mr. Santucci think the city will gain absolutely nothing by LMR's huge differential in capital improvements compared to Ocean's? The base rent being offered is the next obvious financial difference. The $65,000 annual difference amounts to a $1.3 million total difference over the 20-year term of the lease. That sounds like a lot of added revenue to give up to the taxpayers in exchange for grab and go and some lower cost hors d'oeuvres offered by Oceans on the second floor. Ocean's lower bid is even more perplexing when considering the economies of scale they would enjoy with their sister restaurant right next door. In Ocean's proposal, it even states the Palm House will have access to all the tools used by Oceans 234. LMR wants to keep the restaurant open during the winter tourist season and pay the city half rent. I think this makes far more sense than shutting down the restaurant completely during the height of tourist season and having the tourists suffer through all the disruptions of a major construction project during the crucial November to April season. Danielle Rossi states that 60 new jobs will be created and she ensures compliance with all regulatory requirements. I hope the taxpayers can believe that. The reason there is pause for concern is because of the class action lawsuit filed by the employees of Ocean 234 on April 3rd, 2017. The case number is 0-17-CV-60646-WPD, entered on the FLSD docket filed by Bober and Bober, PA of Hollywood. The major complaints in the lawsuit are as follows. A, Rossi took illegal tip credits to pay each employee $3.02 less per hour than required by law. B, Rossi illegally deducted a 3% credit card processing fee from the employee's tip pool. C, Rossi required employees to pay for their own uniforms. D, Rossi had mandatory meetings the first Tuesday of the month and failed to pay the employees their proper wage for attending this mandatory meeting. May I have one last minute? I heard that Rossi and the plaintiffs went to binding arbitration where she lost and had to pay the employees what they were owed. But to be fair to Ms. Rossi, that was hearsay. And I think she should be given a chance to explain to the commission what the disposition of the class action lawsuit was. So, at least to this concerned taxpayer, the bids are not really that close at all. And I hope the commissioners fulfill their fiduciary responsibilities and do what is in the best interests of the taxpayers. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Ms. Freitag? Okay. Ms. Freitag, go ahead.
Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. I have a couple, I do apologize that I was unable to make it to the meeting, but I do have a couple of questions and I'm not sure exactly if they are directed at both of the proposals or not. The first is, do the renovation costs include equipment? And does the city have to pay for it like they did before? Previously, the city paid for all of the equipment fixtures in the kitchen It's owned by the city. The city purchased it with, in conjunction with the previous tenant. Is that going to be the same case moving forward? And if so, what are the proposed costs for all of that new equipment that they would like to put into those locations, into the new location? As a lot of people I've said before, I do a lot of business with governments. When you put in a best and final, there's no going back and changing it afterwards. Your best and final is just that, your best and final. If you chose to go outside of the scope of what is permitted or what is in the ITQ, that's up to you. But when you put in a best and final, that should be your best and final and should not be adjusted or changed, no matter how many contact or conversations you have after that. It should not be changed. If that were me, my bid would have been thrown out. If the best and final arrived late, also, it should have been thrown out, should not have been changed, should not have been received late. That makes it null and void. I'm concerned, again, with the amount of space available for strollers, bikes, and people walking by on the east side of the building. I have a concern regarding open areas where the LM is saying that they're going to have open spaces upstairs on the observation deck. They're going to have open public spaces downstairs underneath the awnings. Are those really truly open to the public? Will you be able to bring your own food and drinks to those locations? Will you be able to stay there as long as you want? Is there a time frame in which you'll have to vacate those areas? Lastly, remembering that what we had back in the day when we had Kelly's, when it was Kelly's, we've had a lot of changes. What makes me nervous more than anything is that you're not going to be able to go into either one of these places, either one of these restaurant ideas, and get a quick breakfast and walk out for under $25. And if you're saying that, yes, we're here for the locals, locals aren't coming to the beach and paying $25 for breakfast. They could go next door and pay $30 for the brunch, but they're not going to come in there and pay $25 for breakfast.
Thank
And
you,
that's
Ms.
what I
Freitag.
think we're missing.
Thank you. Ms. Freitag.
I'm done. Thank you.
We have somebody else? Mr. Sider?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Were you able to hear everything I said?
No, we
Okay.
need your name and address for the record.
Okay.
please.
I'm sorry. This is Steve Sider, 1301 East Hillsborough Boulevard at Hillsborough Cove Condominiums. I'm actually a retired architect out of Chicago, and I'm listening to these proposals. And frankly, my understanding is that the best offers were made in a previous meeting, and due to your comments, both proposals had the right to go back and adjust whatever they wanted to adjust for this meeting. But furthermore, I'm more concerned about, I haven't heard anything about parking issues, transportation issues. Right now it's getting to be extremely congested. I don't know what Oceans has for parking that will be able to handle their Palm House proposal. Let's face it, LM has an adjacent vacant lot, my understanding, that's rumor or whatever I read in the papers, that they could possibly include or support parking for the other previous woman spoke about, shuttling people. But the bottom line is, I think there are a lot of holes in these presentations. And unfortunately, I guess you're ready to make a decision. But furthermore, I like the idea that you were discussing where it's more casual, grab and go. Palm House to me sounds very pretentious as a name. I'd be concerned with that. It doesn't relate to the pier or the beach. But anyway, these are just my comments. I'm a newer resident. I'm only here for 3 years. But I do love the progress, and both presentations are very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Ms. Mouchakis?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and the public. Very, honored to have this opportunity to be here today. I'm sorry, my father, my mother, and I cannot be there in person. First off, I do want to address the concerns where we seem like we are unable to land on a number. And that is partly, and I understand, and I could completely relate with the hesitancy and the concern. When we walked out of the meeting prior to our departure, we thought that there was going to be an opportunity, as Chris mentioned, to go back and forth. And once the committee came back and invited us to come back with our best and final written offer, we sharpened our pencils. As a good negotiation happens. We found some opportunities where the city pays for some insurance, which was, I think, a savings of about $172,000 to the business. And that is what has led us to be able to afford to increase our rent and go up. The committee also, was leaving us to believe that there may be opportunity to have that eastern side. And so, being good stewards of the community, we wanted to make sure that we presented both options so that the city could be in the driver's seat of making the decision on how they wanted to go about with, if they wanted more rent, if that was more important to them and that Eastern Seaboard was available, that was an option for us. However, we do understand staying inside the confines of the ITM. Commissioner Drosky, in the work session, you asked a very poignant question about what did the committee, potentially miss? And I would say it is our tried and true. I hear hesitancy from the mayor on, what you were sold was not what you got prior. And that is one of the things that I think is core to us here at LM Restaurants and part of our values. We do deals. We build entire restaurants, sometimes on handshake deals. And if you look at the renderings of Lucky Fish, Oceanic Pompano Beach, and our various other restaurants, and what was the rendering is actually what came to fruition. And the part that gets missed is how we partner with cities, and we are very creative to find ways to activate the communities. We've done this in multiple municipalities, and it is a back and forth, and we have won awards by being able to take a sleepy little location and turn it into a place that has vibrancy, that increases the better of all. Restaurants work on agglomeration, as I was explaining to the committee. And so by bringing energy and really bringing the space to highest and best use, it will increase the value of everybody's property. We have had local residents come to us down in Pompano Beach thanking us for our investment in their community because it has raised their property values. As well as other locations, we've had landlords in the past going, oh my goodness, our other tenants are seeing increase in business because of what you have done for the shopping centers that we have been involved in. So I just want to say thank you very much. Daniela, you have done an amazing job with your presentation. And I do believe that the committee and the commission has a difficult decision, but I appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Mouchakis, my understanding is a principal in the LM organization. So you may want to give the opportunity at least to Ms. Rossi, if she so chooses to make comment as well.
We'll give her an opportunity after that. Okay. Is there anyone else from the public? Yes, sir. Come on, man.
Community. My name is Jared Davis. I lived here for 44 years of my life. I live in 1014 Southeast 14th Terrace in the Cove. I'm here on behalf of Gail Tickton. I bought a little condo in 261 19th Avenue, Riverside South Apartments. I met Gail, who lived in the unit 5, while walking my dog in the backyard. Gail is terminally sick with cancer. She's very sick, frail, and weak, but is an amazing person. Gail had beat hospice and talked her doctors into letting her stay in the condo because she wanted to live out her life while terminal watching sailboats go by. Danielle Rossi and her partner bought 10 of the 14 units in Riverside South. Gail and I did not want to sell. Gail was set on staying there till our final days. Right from the start of the new ownership by Danielle Rossi, the intimidation started. Her intent was to take over the whole building. They took over the board immediately. They made rules and attempt to get us out of the apartment. She put 5 or 6 of her workers illegally with no rental agreement right above Gail's unit. She could have put them in any of the 10 units, but chose to keep them above Gail's. Also, keep in mind, these are 1-bedroom condos. They would get home from work late hours of the night, stay up drinking till early hours of the morning. They threw garbage and appliances off the second floor and would slam right in front of Gail's unit, pitcher included. Gail complained and also called the cops numerous times with no change. Gail was sick and now did not get any sleep and was scared for her personal health and her life. The intimidation eventually worked, and she said she was going to list her unit to move out. Danielle told her to feel free to list her unit, but no one would be accepted by the board. Gail told them, okay, fine, then just pay me what you paid everyone else and I'll move out. I have an email I will read. Some experts wrote to Gail about how they wanted to purchase her place. Keep in mind, everyone knew she has terminal cancer with no real family and friends. This is an email from Michelle and Danielle, partners, to Gail. Quotations. It is true, we ultimately want to buy your unit. We have really depleted our reserves personally to be able to buy what we have already bought. If we are willing to pay, for example, $250K in one shot, you would just get that, $250,000. If we made payments to you, depending on how long the term you'll be open to, you get a total of $483,141.28, including all the payments and interest, end quotes. Gail felt extremely trapped in this proposition. She could not sell to public. If she sold it to Danielle without the term, she'd be selling it at very undervalued. If she did sell with the payment plan, she knew her time was near anyhow. How does that work? I ended up buying her unit what Gail asked for and finding her something out west she could live out her days. I was previously approved, so I was willing to take the consequences to help Gail. Danielle threatened to sue Gail and I. After Danielle found out that I had the willpower and means to fight this legally, she ended up buying each unit of mine for $500,000, $1 million total. Another minute, please. Okay. $1 million total. Although just prior, she told Gail she depleted all of her funds. She found out I would not be intimidated, but this did not help Gail, who already moved out and living in assisted living, not on the water, not able to watch boats anymore.
Gwen Clark-Reed.
Gwen Clark-Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way, Deerfield Beach. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I've listened to this back and forth on this particular item this evening. I think that this shows that there's something amiss about the process that Deerfield goes through in selecting folks bidding on projects. I would just like to say that very concerned about what I've heard here tonight as far as city government and how we are operating. So I know it's a tough decision that you have to make, but I think that again, and I think this has been said before, we need to look at the process of how we go about selecting folks to do business with this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Anyone else online? Anyone else? Okay. We'll close it to the public then. Vice Mayor Parnas?
Since Ocean's brought up, they've been here 20 years. The Cove Restaurant, how many years have you been here?
I would say when LM was founded in Deerfield,
45 years. 45 versus 20 means nothing. I'm a former restaurateur from New York. Somebody asked a very interesting question. Is the city paying for the equipment? City manager, can you give me an answer to that?
Commissioner, any replacement of equipment would be the responsibility of the restaurateur.
Restaurant, it would not cost the city a dime. They're putting the money in. I've eaten in both restaurants. They're both very capable. I have no problem with it. And as far as deciding what contracts we pull and don't pull is right now up to the commission. I have not heard anything about disqualifying somebody for adding something and was accepted by the committee. So that argument doesn't hold water with me. Our decision is what's best for Deerfield Beach, A or B. I like both concepts, but I also like how can I put it? The sponsorship that the Cove has given us over the years. Fishing contests and other things. And they've made us part of a family. And that to me counts a little bit. That they've been here a long, long time and they've respected the city. He just renovated his restaurant. I understand $3 million went into it. And I've eaten since it reopened and it's very nice. I've eaten in Oceans and that's very nice. But I think the real essence here is menu, prices, and money for the city. I don't think we can overlook over $1 million in rent. Taking into consideration 45 years in business in Deerfield. I would say he's married to the city. It's been here a long, long time. And I haven't heard too many complaints. My granddaughters years ago, we used to go there on a Friday night, which they called singles night. My granddaughters were 12 and 14 and they'd get up and do the Macarena because they had live music. And it's a memory I have of the place. So, which do we choose? In my opinion, the one that gives us the most money because they're both good restaurants. And since they're all paying for their own equipment, we don't have a stake in doing what a number of entities have done. We've done it in Century Village where we owned all the equipment in the restaurant and they were just tenants in a sense. So that's what I think we have to consider. Who's going to invest the most and who's going to pay us the most? Because this is a long-term contract. And being at my advanced age, I don't expect to be around when it's over in 20 years. Do you need a motion on it?
No,
Not
we're
yet.
still going through the process. If that's
Okay.
all right, but thank you. Ms. Rossi, you want to come up because we had Ms. Mashakis give 3 minutes, gave her 4 minutes. Will you want to come up for 4 minutes? Your team? We don't. We just want to give equal opportunity. Don't want to say that we didn't give it to you, right? Okay. Thank you. I closed it to the public. Is that correct? I believe I did.
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
I did. Okay. Commission comments? If there's any questions from the public, actually, city manager, can you answer something? Any of the questions that came up? I think the only one that was really a question as opposed to statements and opinions was Sprite Times regarding the renovation.
Correct. The other one I think could be perceived as a question is how will we handle the parking? I just want to note that there's an existing operating restaurant there today. So to be a similar parking situation as it is today.
And I don't know how you define adjacent, but being on the other side of the island, me isn't adjacent, but it is a different opportunity for something, but there's an operating restaurant there now. As far as proposals past and present, haven't been here long enough. I remember renderings that came before us that we looked at for both parties, and I think they've both kind of been consistent what was originally drawn up. I don't recall anything different, but it is a point well taken, Mr. Vernon. I appreciate that. There was a question that maybe that could be answered as far as the one restaurant allowing bathing suits over the other. We know one that said they have. Are you allowing bathing suits at your restaurant? Okay. I think that answers that. And let's see. It's interesting. I think that's what we have. Okay. I think that answers all the questions. Commissioner Preston?
Now, I just want to understand this in detail here. This resolution is awarding the invitation to negotiate. That's what it says here? So clarify exactly what are we voting on?
Sure, Commissioner. So you're voting on the award of the solicitation to one of the two proposals before you today.
Right.
Whoever you award it to, the intent is that we would bring back before you a lease with that proposer at two subsequent meetings, because the lease would need to be approved by ordinance. So you're not actually approving the lease tonight. You are approving the award so that we can bring you a proposed lease agreement for your future consideration.
Okay, so after the award, after we award this, then you negotiate the lease.
We would finalize the negotiation of the lease consistent with the terms that were negotiated during the negotiation process.
From what the information that we already have, could that change?
Well, I guess presumably one of the proposers could retract what they previously proposed and say, we're not going to do that anymore. And certainly if that occurs, which I don't anticipate, but if that does occur, we'll certainly bring that to the attention of the commission.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hudak, who stepped away. Okay. Good enough. Commissioner Drosky?
I'll go while he's out. I have a lot of different notes here, so bear with me. I want to first of all thank the committee for all the work that they did on this. They've come to us with a unanimous recommendation. I have sat on those evaluation committees myself, and I know how intensive they are. The amount and voluminous amount of information that it takes and just the amount of time that goes into it. So for them to sit through multiple meetings, sort through the materials and come to a unanimous recommendation, I appreciate their time in doing this. I know it's not easy having sat on them, like I said, some of those committees myself. I've said before, and I'll say it again, we have like 1A and 1B when it comes to the proposals that we have to evaluate tonight. There's a lot of similarities between the two. The experience to me is very similar. I would not put one necessarily over, give one higher marks than another in that particular category. My vice mayor next to me said that, the amount of time isn't necessarily all that important. The references, if you go through the backup materials, the references for both of these proposers are outstanding. I think they all received top quality references. So there's nothing to be, no discrepancies there. Next is community partners. I think I disagree, Vice Mayor. I think both entities have been community partners here in Deerfield Beach. I think they both participate. You look at the backup materials and their proposals, they have both participated not only in our community, but in other communities around us in other states as well. So I think they both would be a great partner with the city of Deerfield Beach. And I think they both would reach out to the communities in which they represent. The capital investment, both proposers are putting in a lot of money to this particular location. And that's why I said at the workshop, I'm okay with a 20-year lease because they have to recover that capital investment. That's not going to be done overnight. And then the financials, I'm also convinced that they're both on equal financial footing. I don't think we're in jeopardy of either of these proposers going under anytime soon. And even if that were to happen, if you look in the backup, two of the requirements is that there's a surety bond and a letter of credit that have to be posted as well. So the city in that regard would be protected. So where do we go from here? So what was the vision? What was the commission's vision for this location? And that's going to start, the next part of my dialogue here is what do we want to see there? So clearly the market brought to us two restaurants, which are very similar. There's no Burger Shack that made a proposal to go there. So that concept is out the window. The vision that I had and that one of the proposers meets the most is that put in their background is one restaurant, three experiences. You have three different alternatives, and that would be the Deerfield Beach Cafe. You have the dining area, you have the observation deck, which is a tapas, and then you have the grab and go component as well. So that I think meets the vision that we have set here in Deerfield Beach, because we wanted to be very specific that we have a local component to this. And I think that the grab and go and the observation deck both check that box, that if you're a local here in Deerfield Beach, that you have a cost efficient alternative to go to the grab and go, or you can go get a beverage or tapas at the observation deck. And then the dining area would fit the tourists. So I think that is the vision that the commission had for this particular location. In addition, I am concerned about the bidding discrepancies. The minutes to the meetings of the committee are very clear that the best and final was the best and final, not the best and final and then final again, the best and final. And the notes are very, very clear on that. And so I do have some problems with the best and final coming after the fact, which kind of changed the playing field. To Deerfield Beach's Cafe's credit, her best and final stayed the best and final the entire time. It did not change. Even after she learned that the needle had moved, she said, nope, I'm sticking to my guns. My best and final remains my best and final. In addition, the construction downtime will be less. The more time that restaurant is down, I think it's just people are going to forget about it. It's going to be off the locals' radar. It's going to be off the tourist radar. So the faster that can get into operation, I think the better. So there's one thing in particular that moves the needle to Deerfield Beach Cafe, in my opinion, but it's just these little things that push it over the top. Money isn't everything and shouldn't be the only consideration. In fact, Ms. Cook tonight said, and I quoted her, the top number is not always the right number. And if you'll remember, we had a landscape contract that came before us. This is kind of the inverse situation. We had landscape contractors come before us, and we had a gentleman come here and gave us the lowest number, and we took his lowest number. And what happened? He got fired. He got fired almost immediately because he came back and said that his lowest number couldn't be his lowest number. So I too have been up here a while and have to take into account that the top number isn't always the best number that we should go with. There's a lot of intangibles that go into these numbers when we're making decisions. Am I making my decision based upon money alone? No. I don't think that's in the taxpayer's best interest either, because over time, over this 20 years, that's going to build up a reputation. You're going to build in a customer base, the restaurants, with the locals, the tourists. So that lease money difference could be offset in many, many different ways. And I said at the workshop too, I'm not convinced that the discrepancy is that large because the proposals are not apples to apples with respect to the amount of time that they're both open. I believe the L&M's proposal is to stay open later. And so if you were to do that, and if you were to serve the full menu at the observation deck, that would be additional income. I'm not a mathematician. I don't know how that goes into the models, but I think the gap is smaller than what we all think. So, and there's another thing that I want to address here at the very end too, is I'm hearing already, we haven't even voted. And I'm hearing already that the fix is in for the Deerfield Beach Cafe. This totally perplexes me and I have no idea how. Have I been to Oceans 234 and seen Miss Rossi there? Yes. Have I been to the Cove Restaurant and see Mr. Mushakos there? Yes. So I know both of them. I'm not friends. We don't hang out with any of them. But certainly being community partners, I would hope to know them. I would hope to see them around and then participating in our community. So to say that one has already been predetermined to me is just mind boggling, because everyone sitting here tonight knows that the commission is struggling with this decision because they're so close. But to me, for the reasons that I set forth, I think that one proposal stands out over the other, and that's the Deerfield Beach Cafe.
Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have a slide that shows the comparison of the numbers? Because I mean, we have one presentation that provided their numbers, and I know it changed a couple times. But do we have a slide that so we can see the two numbers again? Because one of them I'm going on memory, because it's not in the handout, unless I just missed the page.
Commissioner, I don't, because the spreadsheet that I have is inconsistent with the presentation of one of the proposers that we received tonight, and that's based off of what appears to be a change in the natural break point of 6% rather than 5%. But I'd be happy to go over the two of them with you.
Okay, if you could go over the two of them with me then. I have the one in front of me here because, and the reason why I'm asking is I too am on the fence because I know both owners and I respect both owners and I respect both restaurants and both organizations. And the proposals are extremely close. The look and feel of both is close. When you start your restaurant, you could have certain operating hours and then you can expand them or, contract them as needed. So that's going to change numbers as well. That's just part of doing business and finding out, where your patrons are and when they show up. So all of that, your menus, of course, are going to change. This is just the initial proposal and, you'll find out what sells, what doesn't sell. So, none of that is set in stone. What is set in stone is the relationship that we're going to have for 20 years with one of these organizations. Our ability to work together with that organization. Looking at each of the proposals, they both have great options. One of them did move the needle a lot. And that gives me a lot of pause for concern. But we did not disqualify them when that opportunity, I guess there was an opportunity to do that. So I have to look at, what has been given as this latest presentation and how it compares to our visions, as Commissioner Drosky said earlier. And so one of the things that I do have to look at, because they are so close, because I respect both individuals as restaurateurs as well as individuals, is we do have to kind of, at least myself, I've got to look at the dollars to try to figure out which one is I'm leaning towards. So if I could have that full information, because like I said, I only have one in front of me now.
Sure. And Commissioner, my recommendation would be to have each proposer confirm what their starting annual minimum base rent would be, what the annual increase would be, and what the natural break point is. I would have each proposer confirm that because I think it'd be best to hear it from them.
Okay.
Can L&M, do you mind coming up and giving us the numbers, please?
Thank you. As I mentioned a few moments ago, our initial rent is year one, 275,000 with annual increases of 2% throughout the term. Our percentage rent is 6% natural breakpoint.
Say it again.
6% percentage rent with a natural breakpoint at that percent.
6%.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you. Deerfield Beach.
Our base rent annually was $210,000 with a 5% percentage rent with a natural break point,
And the increase?
2% increase.
Okay, same 2% increase. Thank you.
Can we explain to the audience what natural breakpoint means?
Okay, I'll do my best, and I have to put the disclaimer out there. I am not a restaurant consultant, right? But essentially, you have a minimum base rent figure. You heard 210 from one and 275,000 from the other. To the extent sales exceed this, what's called the natural break point, in lieu of getting that minimum base rent, you would get a higher number based on those sales, which are calculated based on that minimum base rent. So let's say, for example, they are offering you 2% and it's $1 million in sales, right? That would be an additional, $20,000. That's not going to exceed your minimum base rent. But if their sales exceeded such an amount that 5% for one or 6% for the other exceeded the 210, then you would get that number in lieu of the 210. Let me see if I can use like simple numbers. Maybe, yeah, like 10 million. Okay. So if they had 10 million in sales, right? If you got 5% of that, it would be 500,000. So you would actually get like 500,000 instead of the 210 or 275, if that makes sense. So that's where that percentage rent comes in. The break point is based on the 210. So whatever, like 210 or 275. So if one of them has 210,000, there's a number of sales that's equivalent to like 4 million of 5% equals 210,000. If it exceeds that 4 million, you would get the higher number. I know that was a little more, there's probably a simpler way to do it, but again, I'm the attorney. Okay. So I did my best. Does that make sense, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
And Commissioner Preston, does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I might need you to say it again.
So for example, right, I'm just going to take Deerfield Beach Cafe's proposal. They're offering you a minimum base rent of 210,000 year one. The natural break point is 4.2 million. 4.2 million, 5% of that equals 210,000. So if they have sales in excess of 4.2 million, theoretically, you could get more than the 210. It would be, let's say they have sales of 5 million. 5% of that would be 250,000. You get 250,000 that year instead of 210. Maybe that, with that example, I think that's probably the best I'm going to be able to do.
Get Stephanie Tinsley in here.
I'm not sure who had his line on Commissioner Preston.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, best and final offer is best and final offer. That has to be understood. But I'm not so sure, based on what I heard, that that it was understood the events that happened after that. I don't really believe that the person that was saying something that it was some sort of nefarious attitude or personality. I just think that this seems to me like somehow in there was some sort of a misunderstanding, because I lean more toward you know, you make your best and final offer and that's it. But then when I'm listening to this and I'm not hearing a lot of objection, it seems like there was something not totally fluent with that. And so something happened with that. So I don't think that there was anything intentional to not do that. And so I'm confused with that. I'm just confused with that part.
Vice Mayor Parnas.
Deerfield Beach Cafe, I understand you were sued for workers' wages and you settled it? eventually. Am I correct? Okay. That doesn't sit very well with me as a former restaurateur. That you had to be taken to court to pay people what they earned. And it just doesn't sit well with me. If past is prologue, what makes me think you wouldn't do it again? Don't know. And I'm not willing to take that chance. Because most of the workers, if not all of them, will be Deerfield Beach residents. And it just doesn't sit well with me.
Mr. Prentice. Okay. I think we gave you the opportunity to explain, but if you want to answer that question, I think that's a direct question. Sure.
Yeah, you can ask the question of the proposer.
Rossi, can you answer Mr. Herz's question now, Mr. Vice Mayor Parnas's statement about that? Yes, please.
The only comment I want to make is you can get sued for, anybody can sue you for anything. The allegations that came against me, we settled for a lot of reasons. And a lot of what has been said is very inaccurate, incredibly inaccurate. I did not steal from my employees. We settled out of court because it wasn't going to go to trial. You can find attorneys that will sue restaurateurs who've been in the business every single day for a lot of things. So, I mean, this is not a place, I think, to air that out right now, but what has been said is inaccurate. And if you'd like to talk about it offline afterwards, I'm happy to do that.
You did settle it. For how much money?
I don't
have to
think
dis-
that's,
you don't
I
have
don't
to
think that's
disclose
the that, Ms.
point.
Do you know that to defend yourself, it costs unbelievable amounts of money in litigation?
Very well aware of that here on the commission. We
Right.
get sued all the time.
So you know that sometimes when you close a case out, it's, for different reasons.
Okay. That's your answer. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, I think bringing in hearsay from others and coming up with this stuff, experiences before, and I'm going to try to omit the what I think is some of the little pettiness of some people with past history of maybe somebody supported them in an election or didn't support them in an election and that kind of silliness. Everybody gets sued. I looked up very quickly while we're sitting up here that L&M had issues with the Carolina Ale House name and the other ale house name. Everybody gets sued. The details of the case, it depends on what it matters. But what I find interesting is, and I'll go back to show you the pettiness that happens, is that one scenario in the past where someone did something wrong, everybody jumped up and down and said everything should be thrown out. Needs to be thrown out. You violated the rules. Everything needs to be thrown out, despite the fact that they had the best price. Everybody was up in arms to do that. Matter of fact, some of the people that are commenting on this online are some of those people. But yet, apply the rules now. You broke the cone of silence, not once, twice, multiple times. Right there in our own talking to the city attorney tonight, that eliminates you from consideration immediately based on a case that could easily be made looking at our own code. That's what could happen, but I don't hear any complaints. Interesting. Look, we have two great restaurateurs. We are really lucky to have them. I'm not going to disparage any of them because I think they've done a phenomenal job. I don't feel comfortable with, nor do I like the fact that the numbers kept changing, especially after it's everybody show your cards and someone's still holding cards. Once you see somebody else's card, you start shuffling the deck again. And yes, there's a spirit of cooperation, but there's also some common sense. You cooperate on other things later. You don't sit there and play games with the numbers to change it 4 or 5 times. It's not the way this is supposed to work. Best and final, best and final. You said you knew what that meant, and yet it changed. I can put that aside because I have to look at what's in the best interest of the city of Deerfield Beach. Okay. If I'm looking at dollars, that is a consideration that needs to be put in there. You need to look at it and make sure you're hearing this out because we could have killed this early. and said, sorry, you're eliminated. You broke the cone of silence. Technically you broke the cone of silence, not once, but multiple times. You're out. That's it. But looking at this as a whole, I think it's right to kind of hear everything out and make sure that we're playing out what is the best interest for the citizens. I do appreciate the fact that you've heard feedback from the commission, from the public about what's important to them. Now we hear some of the things that are important to them. Hey, we want cheap options. Guys, if you want cheap options, if that's what you want, you're not going to get the rent that these both restaurateurs are going to pay us. So if money's so important, what's more important? What the residents want as far as a menu, or are you looking at the buck? Makes me wonder what is important. I think it'll probably change depending on which way the wind blows sometimes. But the bottom line is, I'm looking at one group that came in with a concept that's very close to what I always envisioned for that restaurant there. We talk about grab and go. There's a difference between takeout and grab and go. I look at the menu pictures. I see things that are put in a cup, handheld, go, grab, go, gone. Not to go packages. Anybody can do to go. That's not what we're doing here. I look at a consistent theme that goes throughout. I see one that, yeah, look, they're both phenomenal opportunities here for us. And we don't have two locations to give, but the fluctuating numbers, seeing one that has a vision that hasn't completely changed its vision or its approach based on a small period of time, I've got to go with the one that hit it on the head right off the bat for me. Yes, 4 million potentially? Long-term over 20 years is a lot of money. It's a lot of money without a doubt. I don't like to leave money on the table. But I also have to look at trying to split what the residents wanted, which is cheaper alternatives, something that's easy and quick, grab and go. That concept has been there from the beginning with one group. It's only been added after the public input and after the commission input that we've heard that. It tells me one's a little more in tune than the other. Both phenomenal, both have rich histories. Yes, the Cove and all those years of sponsorship with fishing tournaments and stuff like that, different ownership, without a doubt. But Lou has been here forever. I mean, Deerfield Beach going back years. So I don't, that washes out with me. I think they're both ingrained in our community, and we're lucky to have both of them. But looking at the two presentations and what I think is the one that grabbed the concept that I believe in from the beginning, and the numbers, there's a separation there, but I think if you're going to offer cheaper priced items, you're going to have to sell it at a point. You're not going to make the same revenue. So for me, I would have to look at, and I'll be honest with you, I really wish the name of the LLC was something different because it's extraordinarily confusing for me, but Deerfield Beach Cafe to me captures what I envisioned right off the bat. And you know, I love the fact that L&M has heard that, has made some changes, but I think I worry that the changes that they want to make in order to achieve those things might, because they're done kind of on the fly, might cause their numbers to change again. And that would be a concern for me. I have a plan that has been well thought out, brought forward. Here it is, best final, understood what that meant and dropped off. I have another one that, you know, generous and seems to have a really good plan, but seems to maybe not have the numbers as tight as they could be and could be a problem down the road. So that would be my concern. Commissioner Preston?
Thank you, Mayor. When you bring up the fact that the cone of silence was breached, but yet the process continues, I don't know the relevancy of bringing that up when the process is continuing. So, you know, to me, it kind of taints it that we were going to make some sort of an action, say you broke the cone of silence, and as a result of that, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. To me, that's fair, but I don't know how fair it is that we bring it up and we're still going to vote. So I don't know. I just personally don't understand the relevancy of that.
I would bet that the person on the other side is going to see the relevancy in that and could easily bring that up later to say, this should have been, according to your code, done the minute the cone of silence is broken.
And why are we going on with it?
because we're looking out, trying to figure out and play things out to see what is the best interest of the city.
What options do we have? Do we go back out and do it over again? I mean, to keep those people, you know, if so, because if you're saying that there's gonna be a lawsuit,
Attorney? Idea, I haven't spoken to anybody, but I'm looking at this and a case could easily be made.
Right.
for that.
So,
And there's a reason to bring that up because one, it's fair. It's a fair assessment.
so section 38-127, if I may, is the cone of silence provisions of the city. The determination, and that section provides that the determination of a violation of the cone of silence is actually made by the city commission. So it's not something that I can just say it happened and it's done and it's a violation and so they shouldn't get a contract. It's ultimately up to the city commission as to whether or not to make that determination, and that's pursuant to the provisions of the code on the cone of silence. So I just,
so I guess what I'm asking,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Attorney,
yes, sir.
as far as the city is concerned, its position and its protection, what would be the most advantageous way forward? What do we do?
Well, I think if the commission is gearing towards awarding it to LM Restaurants, then you should address the cone of silence issue and make a determination as to whether the city commission believes.
But
that
you
they
won't know that
violated.
unless we vote. I mean, there's nobody leaning to it. You won't know it unless we actually award it.
That's why I don't want to blindside anybody with it. And that's just the reality and that's just the truth. That's why you bring it out. That's what occurred. That's what happened.
Mhm.
So it is
Right.
wrong. And if we're gonna go in one direction, then we need to address it. So as a commission, are we okay with the fact that the cone of silence is broken?
No.
I make a motion to disqualify the party who violated the code of silence.
But before you do that, Commissioner, I mean, if I could just make a friendly suggestion, I mean, I think before you disqualify that there needs to be a determination that in fact the cone of silence is broken. If you want to go that direction, that there should be a motion or something
I
to
believe
that
that's been
effect.
established, has it not?
Well, I didn't hear a motion by the commission on that.
So hold on. Here's what I will say. We have to make a determination as a commission, as the city attorney's pointed out, whether the fact that the cone of silence has been broken is relevant or not. We get to make that determination. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm just going to read it right from the code, so it's very clear. 38-127 subsection E. Any violation of this section shall be cause for disqualification of the bidder of the proposal. The determination of a violation and the penalty shall be made by the city commission.
So I'm gonna ask the question, Commissioner Hudak, are you okay with the cone of silence being broken?
Can you reiterate the facts and city attorney as to why it has been proposed that the cone of silence has been broken?
So you all received an email a couple days after, I think, the negotiation committee, and the emails are before you as well on the dais there, from an LM representative with an increased offer. I believe it was 260,000 at the time. You were copied, as well as the city manager and members of the negotiation committee. It's no problem to contact the city attorney. It's no problem to contact the contacts from procurement that are listed in the ITN. However, under your cone of silence, it is an issue for those seeking an award to contact you all while the cone is in effect and communicate with you all while the cone is in effect. There are some exceptions to that. For example, making public presentations at a meeting like today is an exception to that.
So I am gonna put forth that I feel the cone of silence was breached and therefore
You have a problem.
the party should be disqualified. Yes.
Do you have a problem with it? Commissioner Preston, what's your thoughts?
I have a problem with it as well, that the cone of silence was breached. However, that being the case, we were sitting here in a position to vote on it. And we was ready to award the contract. And so we were actually, as a commission, in spite of that, in spite of knowing that, we were still willing to go forward. So really what becomes the right thing to do at this point? And it's not so much for the restaurateurs, it's really more for the public. How do we establish trust in what we do? That would be, to me, and I might be wrong in this, but to me, there's only one way to do it. That is start the process over. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. So you have a problem with it, but you'd want to start the problem, start it over.
Yeah.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I think that this should have been brought up the minute you got the email. The fact that we have gone forward and let them make presentations is a decision by this commission to accept it for what it is and move on, which means we do not accept the negative of it. We should have done this a month ago if that's what you wanted to do, but we didn't. We let them make their presentations. If they were going to be disqualified, why did we bother? If we were going to send it out for rebid, why did we bother? We've approved their action by holding this where it's being voted on tonight.
Commissioner Drosky.
I have a problem with the cone of silence being violated, yes. But I think the motion to disqualify is a little bit premature. I was hoping to hear more debate from my colleagues, and the reason that I didn't do anything sooner on the issue too is I wanted to hear more from my colleagues and try and decide this on the merits tonight. If there were 3 votes for Deerfield Beach Cafe, then the motion to disqualify and the cone of silence issue is kind of moot at that point. Then you have a proposer who has won on the merits, and I would prefer this to be decided on the merits tonight than what's going to be classified as a technicality by violating the cone of silence going further. So if there's a third, if I'm vote counting up here, I mean, I was very clear in my comments. I'm not hiding anything from the audience or from my colleagues, which way I've done my homework. I've researched all the materials. The backup is 2 billion pages long, which I've read. And I made my opinion known tonight. And I think the mayor has, and I think Vice Mayor Parnes has. So I've got it as 2 votes for Deerfield Beach Cafe and 1 vote for L&M. If there's 1 more vote for Deerfield Beach Cafe, I think the motion to disqualify is moot.
I think the motion to disqualify, I have a problem with it, but I don't want to disqualify. I don't think it's in the best interest of the city of Deerfield Beach to do that. There's a lot of money on the table. There's a lot of decisions to be made. We have 2 really excellent restaurateurs. Do I think it was fair? No. Does it affect my vote? Yes, it does a bit, but not entirely. It certainly doesn't sit well with me, but it's not the whole thing that I would vote one way or the other. I don't think they should be disqualified, but I think it would be wrong not to point that out. I think it's part of the decision-making process. I think it's fair to the residents for them to know that. It's fair to both restaurateurs. Anybody else who comes forward with proposals, I think it's fair for them to know that. So I think as a commission, we agree, at least majority of us agree that we have a problem with it, but I think only one of us wants to disqualify. So at this point, we're gonna continue on. Is that okay? Is everyone okay with that? All right. So, but we've laid it out. It's been addressed. We've lanced the boil. Okay. So that's out there. Now I have a bunch of lights on. Vice Mayor Parnas.
No,
No, you're good? Okay.
I'm good.
So, we need somebody to make a motion to figure out where we're gonna go. I've laid out what I thought. I have 2 excellent proposals in front of us. I have flexibility on both. One has a potential for more revenue, but I think that might switch because I think they've switched what their concept was. And I don't think their concept of grab and go is similar to what has been presented very carefully by the other presentation. I think that is a way to kind of get closer to what the residents have been asking for, in my opinion, from the very beginning. And they're both extremely close to the renderings I showed of what we should have had there all along. But I think one actually has it with well thought out, well planned, with pictures of what it would look like and gives us a fair idea of what it would be. So that's what I would lean towards. Neither one of these are going to be bars. That's not what their business is about. These are 2 excellent operators. We're lucky to have them. I'm glad we have them. But I think one hit it from the original concept, and the other one is playing a little catch up. Commissioner Drosky.
I'm going to try and land this plane and call the question. I'm going to make a motion to approve the unanimous recommendation of the committee for the Deerfield Beach Cafe.
So that's approving item number 14 with the award to Deerfield Beach Cafe LLC, correct?
Correct. Correct.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Commissioner Drosky, seconded by Commissioner Hudak. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
No.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
No.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Okay, we are now at comments by administration and legal. I have no comments tonight.
I just have one this evening, commission, and the comment is related to presentation that we got earlier about the award of the design fees for MLK. And I just wanted to make the commission aware of some great work that's being done by our staff, by our lobbyist there in Washington, D.C., and by Representative Moskowitz, who is pushing through a $1 million appropriation for the construction of the MLK Avenue Stormwater Project for us. It's not a done deal yet. So we're going to need a little bit more advocacy, but Representative Moskowitz is strongly supporting this for the city of Deerfield Beach. And it's likely that we'd probably see this. We're seeing this in the next legislative session. So kudos to our staff, our lobbyist, and a special thanks to Representative Moskowitz for supporting that item.
Good. Now at comments by mayor and city commission.
District 4.
Of course. I'm sure someone else will address the backpack giveaway this Saturday, so. But I did want to discuss during my comments tonight, I did want to discuss with my colleagues the landscape contract. I did bring that up earlier tonight, as you recall, and the low bidder on that contract, basically, as soon as the contract started, basically said he could not perform and wanted more money, and he was fired. I don't think that goes far enough. That his decision has cost us close to an extra $1 million. The delta between his contract and what we ultimately had to pay for the landscape contract has ultimately cost the city close to $1 million. And I don't want him to get off the hook for just a simple disbarment, which basically means he can't do business with the city of Deerfield Beach for 3 more years. And then he's supposed to disclose that to other municipal or government bids that he makes in the future. I think we need to send a message. And I think I want my colleagues to consider the city actually suing him to recover part of that delta, because it's not fair to the taxpayers. When we all sat here and we all watched him on that presentation, and we all specifically asked him, when he gave us that low number for his proposal, that was his business model. And he purposely and intentionally gives that number so that he can recruit business, and he helps build it up, and he becomes a partner with those cities. And he gave us the city of Boynton Beach as a specific example. And that all turned out to be false. And so I don't want to let him off the hook with a simple letter of disbarment. I think that we need to set more of an example. And I would like to see the city attorney's office actually sue him to recover that delta on behalf of the taxpayers. So I bring that up tonight for your consideration.
I'm all for it.
Me too.
Well, I didn't like it to begin with. I don't know if you remember. I voted against him, and I said, there's no way he could do it. And so I'm with you. Unless it costs the residents more money to get whatever we would get back. That's where I would be against it.
Maybe we can ask the city attorney's office to evaluate that and come back to us.
Certainly, I think I heard direction, certainly from my office, to explore that. And I will circle back with you one-on-one. I'm not going to speak to litigation strategy in the public setting, but I will certainly speak with you all on an individual basis, on a one-on-one basis. And I would need authorization from the commission to file that lawsuit if in fact we do want to make that decision. So thank you.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. District 3.
We have often said up here that you have more power with Tallahassee, with the federal government, with even local government than we do. It's called your vote. And I have a nonpartisan group every Friday morning that will help make sure you're registered. A lot of people have been taken off the rolls, either accidentally or not, and have to refile. How many of you out there vote by mail? Raise your hand. Do you know that you have to re-register every year? We have the forms. You could do it online. No, absentee ballots are now every year. Okay. Regular voters are every 2 years if you vote in the polls, but absentee, you have to request it every year now. That's the new law. So we're here, and if the city manager will allow us, can we stay till 2 o'clock if we want to? On Friday we've done over 80 people, only being there 3 hours on a Friday.
I'd be happy to discuss that with you, Commissioner.
Okay,
Yep.
fine. But we're there from 9 to 12 now on Fridays. It's nothing to do with your politics. Who you vote for, who you love, who you hate. I want every voter that can vote to vote. That's what makes us different than any other country in the world. So my people are there. We are approved by the supervisor of elections to have you fill out the form, and you take the form. We don't touch them. It's postage free. All you got to do is drop it in the mail. So if you're in the neighborhood, please stop by. That's all I have.
District 2.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing really concerns me about these kinds of meetings, and it's not so much the decisions that we make, because people are going to agree and disagree. But what bothers me a lot is how the public sometimes looks at us, or look at politics, and they talk about, an attitude that or a personality that comes from politics that is just not right. And when people can't believe in their local government or on a grander scale, there's a problem. And that doesn't go away, because once that's created, it just goes on, and it eats at the very fabric of what we all believe in. And my colleague said tonight that he got the feeling that some people were saying, or at least it was communicated to him, that the fix was in. That same sort of information kind of got to me. And I just want people to understand that they need to believe in the decisions that those that sit up here, or government itself, you have to trust in it, because the minute you don't trust, there's no reason to have it. There's no reason to have it. You have every right to question. You have every right to understand the process. And that process should be such that you feel good about what's going on, and that you can trust it. We had a comment, about, people that work in our city staff. And it was about that they perhaps knew something about permits and whatever that sort of thing is, and they didn't do it. In other words, they didn't do their job. And that is to insinuate that, you knew something and you did nothing about it. And that insider trading personality is not good for our community. So I just want to say to city staff, when people have questions about anything, go the extra mile to answer their question, and assure them that it is our responsibility to always have a level playing field, that it's fair. If you don't understand it, let me explain it to you, so that you walk away with you may not agree, but you walk away with a degree of confidence about the people who govern your city, or govern your state, or your country. It's important, because I don't know where we go if we don't believe in what we do. I don't know where we go. You don't have too many options after that, because frustration or incompatibility leads to situations that can be extremely complex. And if they get complex enough, there is some measure of conflict. And that's not good. I believe that what happened in that situation, that the system worked. When the city found out that the permitting process wasn't the way that it needed to be. The city attorney read off what happened after that and the things that residents was responsible for. So actually the system worked. And we have to talk more about that. When it works, nobody avoided that. But I don't like to hear our residents talk about that our government's not working. It's just not healthy. It's just not. And so I think that everybody can do a better job. I can do a better job. So I'm going to tell you, if there's something that you don't understand, something that needs a better explanation, I would first ask you to call your district commissioner or the mayor, but you're welcome to call me as well. I return phone calls. I give emails a response. Please do so. Please do so. It will establish credibility where credibility is needed. This Saturday, the Deputy Harold Morrison's backpack giveaway. What's the time on that? 11.
11 to 1.
Let me just say something about that. A lot of you in here, you don't know who Deputy Harold Morrison was. He has passed on, but he was a tremendous person, tremendous. Had such a heart for the kids. He started this, and he affected so many youth. And a lot of these kids are kids that didn't have that figure in their life to give them guidance and direction the way that they should have had. And Deputy Harold Morrison kept a lot of people out of jail, except you won't know that. But he did, from the things that he did. And BSO has carried on that, carried that, the giveaway on in his name, and which is a very good thing. And that's appreciated. In my district, there used to be a lot of tension. And a lot of it was centered around how police reacted with, the residents. And I have to tell you, there is such a difference as we go forward. And so I want to just say to BSO and staff, and particularly Chief Hofstein and staff, that they're trying. It doesn't mean that you get written a pass. What it means is that we're willing to listen. What it means is that the law is the law, but sometimes maybe we don't always get it right, but they're willing to converse. And as a result of that, communication efforts are better. And that's what we need. The hostility doesn't help any of us. So I just want to thank them for what they're doing in that way. Is just outstanding. I'm going to have, as happened the backpack giveaway, I'm hosting a District 2 meeting on Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Hillsborough Technology Center. And on the 18th of this month, there's going to be a pop-up event. It's going to be at Mayo Howard Park. And that's going to be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. All districts are invited. It's going to be over. And Mayo Howard was the first African-American fire, I won't say firefighter.
I know who that guy.
Fire department.
We don't talk about him.
Those guys are good guys, let me tell you. But Mayo Howard was the first African-American police officer in the city of Deerfield Beach, for which the park is named for him. So on the 18th, District 1, District 2, 3, 4, come on out and let's just have basically what it is a block party. So come on out and enjoy yourself. And the last thing I want to say is compliments to my colleagues. They have a tough job up here, but you saw the goodness of their job when you saw that they send delegates, people to the state to lobby on behalf of this city. And a lot of the times you wouldn't even know who that person was that went and took the time to go into offices and talk to them and advocate for more money coming back to the city of Deerfield Beach. They'll never get a thank you for that. But it's their attitude that has allowed that to happen. The tremendous work that my colleague has done with the League of Cities. He sits among us, you know, as a prestige person, giving, and not getting not a lot in return, except the satisfaction of knowing that I'm helping in the city in which I live in, or the community in which I live. Not a lot of thank yous for that. And I would tell you, not many of these guys ever get a call to say, hey, you've done a good job and I appreciate the little. So why do we do it? Because we care. Because we care about our city. And because we care, we understand that the thank yous are going to not be there, and the criticism will far outweigh the thank yous. But you do it because it's right. And I will tell you that every one of these guys want to make a difference, and they are. And I thank them for what they're doing. That's it for me, Mayor.
Thank you. District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great words there, Commissioner. Great words. I was also going to talk a little bit about the beginning of our city commission today. Over $600,000 was brought back to the city. And that's a job that we do by, you know, going up to Tallahassee and fighting for our city. And that's one of the jobs that we do, that we do it because we care about our city, as Commissioner talked about. Next week, I'll be going up to Orlando with the Florida League of Cities. Another thing that we do, you know, so, you know, sometimes we get criticized because we're not at an event here or an event there, but we do a lot of things behind the scenes to make sure that this city is well represented, not only to our residents, but also to our representatives up in Tallahassee to make sure that our city gets the funds that we need in order to do projects like we're doing in District 2 for the stormwater project. But I was just curious, Mr. City Manager, 2 questions. The 8th Avenue Stormwater Project, where are we at with that, as well as our swimming pool? So if you can give us any updates on either one of those, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Commissioner, for 8th Ave, I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I can get an update for you, I'm sure shortly, but I don't have that readily available. With the pool, what I can tell you is that since mid-May, we have been conversing with the state to get their approval of the variance. And to date, they have not made a final determination. I have seen communications with our consultant and the lobbyists that they have chosen in order to help us through the process, providing information back and forth to the state as they continue to ask questions. We continue to answer them. It does appear that they are close. I did attend the dye test that the local DOH performed, and they provided that information up to the state. And that seemed to go well, but we do not have a final determination on approval of the variance from the state at this point.
Thank you. But you don't know of any delays or anything with 8th Avenue?
No,
Still-
not
okay.
at all. No.
Okay. I just want to make sure of that. You know, we had a lively debate here, especially in that last item. And it was a very tough decision that we had to make. As you can see, it was a 3-2 vote. And, you know, we did have a win-win solution. I think either of the vendors we went with, it was going to be a tremendous project. But at the end of the day, you know, the vendor that we chose, I'm happy with. And I know I made a motion with regards to the cone of silence, and I still feel that that's something that we need to make sure we adhere to our rules. There's times when we make exceptions that I want to make sure that we limit those because it adversely affects somebody. When one person follows the rules and does their due diligence and then the other one doesn't. So I'm glad for the outcome. It does not take away any of the respect that I have for the party that came in second tonight. But I think it was the proper decision to make. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Despite what anybody would think, Tallahassee still gets things done for us. We had 2 Democrats and 1 Republican. They all came together and worked for us and worked for the residents to get us money that we desperately needed. And it was a group effort of us going up there and talking to them about it, educating them about the need, which is important. It makes it really easy for them to advocate for us up there. We have lobbyists to do all the work when we're not there on those, on the times that we're up there. But it's a combined effort, and our staff does a great job. And I will say some of the feedback that we got up there is how concise and professional our presentations were, to make it really easy for those elected officials to take a look at the objects in front of them and be able to advocate them on the fly. And obviously it's proven to be effective. So I want to thank State Senator Tina Polsky, State Representative Patricia Williams, and Peggy Gossett-Saidman for outstanding job they did for us up there. And I'm glad I wish they had a bigger check, but I'm glad they were here. BSO I know BSO is cracking down, but speeding on the streets in Deerfield Beach, I'm going to keep saying it out of respect for the ones that we've lost in the city on our streets, but we really need to work on that. I know tonight some traffic issues were talked about, and obviously traffic is a huge issue, but I do want everybody to know that we are working and exploring a rideshare program that would be free to Deerfield Beach residents. It would help alleviate some of the points, the pressure points that we have when it comes to traffic and parking. So I'm glad we're able to do that. There was a gentleman here tonight who's talking about the pier, and I do want staff to kind of get back to me as far as why we're only taking cash at the pier and not credit cards. We need to make sure that that's kind of resolved. One feedback that I've gotten from a lot of residents, and some believe it or not have actually sent it by email, but most of it's verbal, is that we need to look into our code enforcement and make a change, in my opinion. I have seen things that should have been caught. I think no one's perfect and you're not going to catch everything. I'm never going to be satisfied with code enforcement. My first board I ever sat on as a resident of Deerfield Beach was on the board that we had for code enforcement, in which we levied fines back when we had it that way, before it was a special magistrate many years ago. And I sat on there for several years, and that's when BSO had it. And I didn't like it when BSO did. I don't like it who's doing it now. I'm never going to be satisfied, but I am really dissatisfied with the job that's going on now. So I would like for us to explore our options. I'd like for us to either talk to Calvin Giordano and find out what's going on there. But in my opinion, I think it's time for us to explore a change when it comes to code enforcement. I've kind of had it. And I know I'm never going to be happy with it, because it's always it's a thin line to try to ride between over enforcement and cooperation with people, but it's a problem. I also, Marty Kiar was here tonight talking about people stealing a property. I think another issue that we have is homestead exemption fraud. And I think we need to make sure that we educate our residents on what homestead exemption fraud is, and go after people who are doing that as well. The backpack giveaway that we have, Harold Morrison, was fantastic. And I thank you for your words on that, Commissioner Preston. John DePrado is the one who donates all of the backpacks for that and does a tremendous job, and a big sponsor with JM Family. It's going to be hot on Saturday. I don't know if you guys have noticed it or not, but it's a little warm out there. From 11 to 1, it's going to be really hot. But we have incredible volunteers and community partners that come out there in blood and a lot of sweat and tears, that go out there and to work very hard to make this a really tremendous event. So I encourage all of you to go out there, at least drive by and see it in action. I think you'll be very happy to see what goes on there, but it's an outstanding event. I want to thank John DePrado, JM, and BSO for continuing on, and us having it named after Harold Morrison. I can be gruff up here sometimes and be pointed, but I will tell you this: people are entitled to their opinion. They're not entitled to their facts. And if I know different facts, I will point them out. I don't like to go back and forth, but that's just the way I've been since I've been up here from the very beginning. And if I feel that things are being misrepresented, I'm going to call it out. So, and I have no problem There's a lot of times that people disagree with our decision making. Doesn't mean we're corrupt or we're doing something wrong. We just have a difference of opinion, and that's okay. So with that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Do we continue on being that nobody